black gold, hoping to God that the timbers hold. Like my father before me, it's all I know. We live only to harvest the cold, harvest the cold. Mine owner's mercy, about as shallow as a grave. We're living in shanty towns, we ain't got no say. 14-hour shifts, such a meager wage. And Mother Jones can't help us now anyway. Anyway, we take the roads, we take the trees by force. Oh, deliver us, Lord, from the gathering stores. Lay down your Bibles, take up your guns, Blair melted. Here we come, oh, here we come. Red bandanas that tell us what side you're on. Yeah, we're the rednecks of the Union 1921. We'll leave tonight at 13,000 strong and take the fight to Blair Mountain before the dawn, before the dawn. We'll take the roads, we'll take the trains by force. Oh, deliver us, Lord, from the gathering stores. Lay down your Bibles, take up your guns, Blair melted. Here we come, oh, here we come. Oh, I fight for my father, still buried in the mine. I fight for my son, so he'll have a better life. We're soldiers of a great war, and it don't seem right to treat a man like a dog just to make a dime, just to make a dime. We'll take the roads, we'll take the trains by force. Oh, deliver us, Lord, from the gathering stores. Lay down your Bibles, take up your guns, Blair melted. Here we come, oh, here we come. Here we come. So find a vein, drain the black gold. You better hope to God that those timbers hold.
Yeah, wonderful. Wonderful.
Hello, 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 everybody. How we doing? How we doing? It has been a while. I've been having a really rough week of family emergencies and mental breakdowns. You guys know how it goes. You guys know how it goes. I might actually have to turn the sensitivity of my mic down a little bit. Looks like I keep peaking the microphone. I think that should do it, but hopefully I still sound okay. How we doing, shimps? Hello, feistiest bard. Hello, it's chimerical. Hello, Andromeda 31. Hello, Erica. Hello, Darth Gently. Hello, Ocean Forest. Hello, Trucker John. Hello, Alan, Eris, Dresner. Hello, Sophie Bliss. Hello, Comrade Girl 2018. Got your hair in a cute bun. I do have my hair in a bun that looks cute on camera. That's true. I don't know how much that translates to looking cute in real life. I feel like it's kind of a mess. Um Hello, Punky Gal. Hello, Matthew. Hello, Witch Night Melody. Hello, Salmon Moose. Hello, Metal Kitty Mom. Hello, Super Jet Guy. Hello, Robber Adset. Hello, Lady Rain Cloud. I am cozy. Hello, Hrundo. Well, the only reason I'm doing that, Sam Noose, is because I did not put my hair up in a bun specifically for stream. Hey, Michaela Rose. Hello, everyone. Gather around. We're gonna be doing our first, like, what it feels like to me, like, kind of our first back to business type of stream in a bit. I do have to go pick up my partner in about 3.5 hours, give or take a few minutes. So, let's make do with the time we have. I know you said you were peaking, but I'm having to turn my stream way up. I mean, I can try to mess with the microphone. Is that better? People always complain about me fiddling with the audio, and then I fiddle with the audio and more people complain. People were saying I was too loud, so I turned it way down. Is this okay for everyone else? I'm sorry, Salmon Moose. Yeah, it's been a bad week. The kind of week where you scream and cry and just like make a mess of things. One of my chatters in my live stream mentioned you, so I thought I'd check you out. Hell yeah, welcome. Hope you like what I do. Chat needs to just get the volume booster extension, or I could sort my audio out. Either one is good. All right. So, I'm trying to kind of ease back into things a little bit, and I feel like we need to kind of approach the current times with a little bit of irreverence, a little bit of silliness, because, I was talking with my mom the other day, and it really does kind of come down to you either laugh or you cry. And I, for one, would rather laugh. So, we'll do our best to kind of take the piss. And, leave it outside of Nancy Mace's office. Not too bad. Have custom sounds on 2 channels? Hell yeah. Gathering around the stream campfire, swapping stories, making pancakes. True. That's how true riverboaters do. Oh, nope. It is not. It is Saturday. Don't you worry. Someone wrote you a jingle. That's delightful. Things are hard, but my candidate took over the local Democratic club and asked me if I wanted a job as a comms director. Yo, let's go, Lady Rain Cloud. Let's go. It's all good, Michaela Rose. Congrats on getting bigger on TikTok, though. That's a big deal. Is it okay to ask how you feel about Sarah McBride's decision? We'll get more into it, but suffice it to say, bad. That's how I feel about it. I've been saying all week Nancy McBride needs to piss on Nancy Mace's carpet, but nobody laughs. I mean, I'm not saying it as a joke. I legitimately, I think any trans staffers or, frankly, any trans person impacted by Nancy Mace's actions should, pee in a jar and leave it at Nancy Mace's office. I don't know if that's necessarily I'm not a lawyer or anything. Can't really say, but I do think an act of civil disobedience to literally piss and shit on her office would be, in order. I mean, for crying out loud, January Sixers smeared shit all over the Capitol building, and apparently they're all gonna get pardoned. So anything goes in Trump's America. I don't know what the law is on leaving piss in jars. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not up to speed on the piss jar law. Anyway, we need to talk about a film, chat. I'm gonna hit the segment button because we're jumping into a segment here. Okay. So we need to talk about a film, not a movie, a film. And it was the #1 trending film on Netflix. And my partner and I, we saw this movie and thought, what the hell is this? And I mean, guys, I want you all to bask in the glory that is the poster for this. Hot Frosty. It took a snowman to melt her heart. It is a Hallmark style movie, but it's a Hallmark style movie about a snowman that is granted sentience and then inadvertently seduces a woman. Yeah, they himbofied Frosty the Snowman. Don't WTF me, okay? This is on Netflix. They put out and produced this film, and it became #1 on Netflix. So it's also on all of you who watch Netflix. Do you want to fuck a snowman? No. But fun fact, the snowman weirdly seems to have like modified Chad jaw that I do not think is this actor's actual jawline. Like, I know he has like I know he has a very defined jaw, but it doesn't like bulge out like this, as far as I can tell. And Dustin Milligan is Hot Frosty. And you might also recognize him as the veterinarian from Schitt's Creek. And I just have to say, this is frankly kind of a cute movie. Because going in, of course, my partner and I had some ethical conundrums we needed to unravel over the course of the runtime of this film, which is, #1, how aware is Hot Frosty of like sexual dynamics? What is Hot Frosty's rule? What are the rules? What are the mystical laws that bind him to this mortal plane? And well, we don't really get any hard or fast rules, except that he needs to maintain a body temperature below freezing, otherwise he will start to die. And additionally, he also seems to require the prominently featured red scarf. And was the snowman built anatomically correct to begin with? That is a question that is left unanswered by the movie, because he begins with his legs encased in snow. But when he comes alive, the snow breaks away and he has fully formed legs underneath. So my question is, I don't necessarily trust that he wasn't sculpted and after the fact the town, for for not wanting a nude hot snowman in the center of town, covered him with snow. Also, just to be clear, Lacey Chabert, I don't know how to say her last name. She's not very good in this movie. But look, Dustin Milligan acts his heart out, and you know what? He goddamn sells himself as a charming and naive, hot snowman who's come to life, okay? Look, I don't make the rules, but it's a cute movie. And I guess I'll just kind of go through it to the best of my ability to recall chronologically, which is essentially Lacey's. I'm just gonna call them by their actor names, except for Hot Frosty. He's just Hot Frosty. How problematic was it that Mr. Freeze cryogenically froze his wife until he found a cure to save her from a rare terminal disease? I mean, it depends on whether it was consensual or not, I guess. But she has a dead husband who died from cancer. And she goes to, she's going about her business in this small rural town and winds up, for whatever reason, I forget why, going into this local thrift store where I think her parents work. Like, they own the thrift store. And it's kind of implied by the setup that the parents have this magical scarf that brings lovers together. And they give it to her so that she can find herself a lover. And they also tell their story about how, like, it helped to bring them together. But I do have a question, and that is, the movie's a bit vague on this point. Is that other man a snowman? Is her dad a snowman? How many of the other people in this town are snowmen? We never get answers to that. And perhaps more horrifically, we also don't get any answers to what would happen if you put this magical scarf on, like, a normal snowman. Because, to be clear, Hot Frosty is sculpted like this man's body. Like, it's not like this man steps out, like, all Kool-Aid Man style out of a snowman. No. Someone in town, and we never learn any details about who sculpted him or why they decided to make a hot snowman, but he's already sculpted like this. And so my question is, if they throw this magic scarf on a normal looking snowman, would that have summoned, like, some kind of freakish flesh beast to our realm? Like, if it just brings alive a snowman as is, but with flesh underneath, what kind of horrors does that mean could exist in this world? Like, I like a good snowman. I like a good classic snowman. I think they're cute. But I would think that they are much less cute if they were, like, flesh orbs stacked on top of each other. That would not be very cute. That would actually be quite grotesque, and perhaps a good premise for a Blumhouse film. But I digress. Now, he comes alive in the middle of the night after she puts on this scarf on him because she notices all of the other snowmen have scarves, but he doesn't. And he's naked, so he must be cold. So she puts this scarf on him and then takes a photograph of him, and then she sees a magical glint in his eye, and she just goes, well, that was weird, I'm going home. And in the middle of the night, Hot Frosty comes alive. And he then proceeds to wander around the town naked, because he's a snowman and wasn't made with clothes, and throws himself through the window of the thrift store, where he then steals the pair of overalls he's wearing in this poster that happen to have the name Jack on them. And that's how he gets his name. So he's wandering around and people are like, what's your name? And he's like, they're like, I don't know. And they're like, well, is your name Jack? That's what's on your your uniform. He's like, I guess it must be. I'm Jack. So that's a whole thing. But then he seeks her out because apparently the first thing that he remembers is this lady taking a photograph of him. And luckily, her heater in her house is broken, so it is constantly below freezing, and he's totally fine inside of her house. Okay? I don't remember the context of why I said Hot Frosty comes. Anyway, we then kind of like see her decide, yeah, you can stay with me for a few days, because she thinks that this man is like an amnesiac who needs help. Like she takes him to the doctor, and that's when they find out that he starts dying if he gets too hot. And so he stays home while she goes to like work or something, and discovers that she had a husband who died of cancer, but he doesn't know what cancer is and has no concept of death because he's a snowman. And also, he learns everything by watching the television. And so when she comes home, he's figured out how to work the oven and has made her pizzas because he saw someone do it on TV, and he learned that he hates the oven because it makes things hot. And he put a sticky note on it that reminds him that it's hot, that says hot. And I have so many more questions. Does he have he has like some clear inbuilt knowledge, but the extent of it is very confusing, right? Like, he knows how to read and he knows how to write. And at no point did anyone teach him how to do those things. And it was at this point that my partner and I looked at each other and were like, is this like the flip side of this? Is he just learning so quickly that he's soon going to like surpass mortal knowledge? Like he's learned how to move. He's already done a robbery. He knows how to read and write now. He's learned how to make a perfect personal pan pizza in the span of like a day, when he started out that day not knowing what an oven was. And like, you know, by the end of the movie, we still have no answers because the movie takes place over the span of like 3 days. Hey, Lid, thank you so much for the raid. Also, hey, Mad Aladdin, how you doing? But so we have all of this going on, but maybe one of the weirdest scenes in the movie happens, right? About halfway through. And that is, Hot Frosty learns about home improvement from watching television. And so he decides to fix all of the broken things around her house, because that's what people do when they love each other. You know, you try and help each other. And so he goes off shirtless in the wintertime, of course, and starts doing like home repairs, like fixing her windows, fixing her creaky stairs, you know, fixing everything in the house, the lights, etc. And as he's doing that, a hot old lady is driving by and sees him, gets distracted by how hot he is in the wintertime, being shirtless and such, and drives her car into a snowbank. At which point he sees this happen. Oh, and I left out a really important part of the movie, which is the local police, the head of which is played by Daryl from The Office, and his second in command is like, he plays Boyle from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, if any of you know that show. But they are in the movie, and they're delightful. And but Daryl's character starts investigating the robbery, and he's like a Javert type where he just cannot let any breach of the law go. And so Hot Frosty, the entire movie, is a wanted man. He has done a crime, and everyone in his life is afraid that he's going to get arrested for stealing this pair of overalls. And the police have nothing better to do than hunt him down. So he's not supposed to talk to anyone because he's supposed to be laying low at her house. Yeah, the fugitive, if it was Hot and Frosty. So he then goes, disregards Lacey Chabert's orders to lay low and goes to help this woman out of a snowbank. At which point, there ensues like a simulated sex act between him and this old woman who's sexy. And like she's like, "Oh yeah, you can try and push and pull me out of it." And then it's filmed like he's thrusting into her. It's a weird scene that was pretty funny, admittedly. And she seemed like Hot Frosty, totally oblivious to the dynamics of this, but sexy old lady is very satisfied with Hot Frosty's performance and invites him to come to her house to fix things. And she says it in a really flirty way, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I would love to help you." And so he winds up going to her house, where instead of like being like sexually assaulted by this old lady, which is where I thought it was going, instead there's like an old ladies book club meeting at her house, and they're just all like staring respectfully at him as he changes a light fixture. It was actually like a lot of the potholes I thought this movie would stumble into, it managed to avoid, sometimes in kind of a clunky way, but yeah, it wound up being like surprisingly charming. And he then gets a job repairing things at the local middle school because one of the old ladies works there. And so he gets a job, and it really, at least Hot Frosty didn't get sexually assaulted. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I thought that might be where it's going. Like, these movies aren't very tactful. And anyway, Lacey gets really mad at Hot Frosty for getting a job because he's supposed to be laying low from the law. But Hot Frosty's like, but I need to help people. And then the cop, played by Daryl from The Office, shows up at the diner in town. And of course, Hot Frosty, when he's at the diner, eats ice cubes in order to stay cool. It seems to be the only thing he eats, which begs another question. Does Hot Frosty have some kind of digestive system? Like, or is it magic? Because clearly his body operates on different rules, but does he have some kind of like ice digestive system? How does the ice get incorporated into his body? By what mechanism? I have so many questions. But anyway, Hot Frosty and the cop who is hunting him, he doesn't know that he's hunting Hot Frosty yet. He just thinks he's a nice-looking young man. But they sit across from each other and eat handfuls of ice like they're trying to one-up each other. It's actually a really funny scene that I would recommend. And yeah, it is a wild movie that ends, of course, on Christmas. And when Christmas rolls around, essentially the cop figures out that Hot Frosty is the criminal and arrests Hot Frosty on Christmas. which is a problem because he doesn't believe that Hot Frosty is a snowman. And so he brings Hot Frosty to the humanely heated jail for this small rural town. And Hot Frosty begins to die of heat. And, you know, there's definitely a little bit of commentary going on about jail conditions and how we treat criminals, etc. But I digress. The entire town then comes together to pay Hot Frosty's bail, which again, Hot Frosty would not be dying if his town had adopted a cashless bail system, which I think this movie is a great example of why we should have that, because you shouldn't be relying on an entire town coming together to raise an arbitrary amount of money set by your local sheriff who's set on being an asshole. So the entire town comes together. Miracle. Wait, what's it called? Not Miracle on 34th Street. That's a different movie. Not A Christmas Story. God, what's the name of it? The one where he wishes to stop existing. Oh, Zazu's Petals. What is that one? It's a Wonderful Life. Thank you. It's a Wonderful Lifestyle. The entire town comes together to bail Hot Frosty out of jail, and different people contributing different amounts of money. And meanwhile, Daryl from The Office is standing there like, what? I am the person who arbitrarily set the bail. I haven't even done paperwork for it. I'm just gonna leave him in jail for the next 2 days while I take Christmas Eve off, or Christmas Day off. And then the town raises the $2,000 it will cost to bail Hot Frosty out of jail. And then he's like, whatever, I'll just let him out. And so the entire point of the town coming together to raise money for Hot Frosty's bail is completely obliterated, because it turns out the cop didn't even need to actually get the bail money. It is a weird movie, and then Hot Frosty dies. He dies in jail. Hot Frosty was not necessarily saved by the town's intervention. He dies. And then, like Jesus Christ, he resurrects into a new and perfected form, i.e., he then comes back to life because Lacey Chabert smooches him. He comes back to life through the power of love, and he's just a normal human man now. Hot Frosty dies and is reborn, like Gandalf the Grey becoming Gandalf the White. The Passion of the Frost. It is a film that I can honestly say would probably be best viewed while drinking with your loved ones or friends, or with a little bit of that good bud. It is a film that honestly, yeah, Hot Frosty didn't wait for 3 days. It's true. But there is a line in this movie that goes, I can't defibrillate a snowman. And I think that you owe it to yourselves to maybe see this movie. No. See, so Ren, The Room is a bad movie that was made sincerely. And I don't know if Hot Frosty is that. I think it was a cynical movie that the people attached to it thought was silly enough that they gave it more effort than a Hallmark movie would traditionally get, and it comes out actually pretty fun. It comes out pretty fun. I know what my partner and I are doing tonight. I can't say it's a good movie by like any metric, but I'm extremely glad that I watched it with my partner. Is it better than Love on a Leash? I have no idea what that is. Yeah, so Hot Frosty by the end of the movie is no longer Hot Frosty. He's just a guy. I made your stacked flesh orbs. I do not want to see that. Oh, God. Thanks, I hate it. Now imagine it has eyes. And I do have questions, okay? If like a stacked flesh orb, you know, if that scarf does in fact bring snowmen to life, would, like, if you gave it like a carrot nose or coal eyes, would those also become real in some way? Or would they fall out of like the flesh? I genuinely it keeps me up at night. Good golly. Anyway, that's Hot Frosty, and I do recommend it because it is baffling on so many levels. And I will say that compared to every other, like, schlock Christmas movie that's coming out this season, this is probably going to be the best one. The runner-up is a movie called The Merry Gentleman or something like that, which is about a lady who turns her parents' like shitty rural bar into a strip club for men, which sounds a lot more fun than what actually happens in the movie. That movie sounds good on paper, doesn't really translate as much. Is this a man? Yeah, magic less Mike, exactly. You got it. Also, my partner and I, we started watching this Christmas one. Oh no, sorry. We wanted to watch this Christmas Magic Mike situation. We were like, well, we never actually saw Magic Mike. And so we watched the first 10 minutes of Magic Mike, and the first 10 minutes of Magic Mike are legitimately depressing as hell, which I was not expecting. I was not expecting that movie to be so sad. So, we didn't finish the rest of it because we needed good vibes. But we did stumble upon Hot Frosty, and I'm really grateful for that. Yeah. God. Anyway, yeah. Okay, I need to go pee because I've been drinking a lot of water today. When I get back, we will be talking about some more stuff. We'll probably go over that Cenk segment. Got a lot of stuff we need to talk about, okay? So, thank you all for being here. Share the stream, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button, hit all the buttons, and consider dropping those subs and donos. BRB.
pretend it's in his head, it's in his head. He wishes he could fix what's in his head, what's in his head. He breaks his heart in every dream where they both kiss underneath the sheets. What a beautiful dream. Oh, when he plays pretend it's in his head, it's in his head. He wishes he could fix what's in his head, what's in his head. He breaks his heart in every dream where they both kiss underneath the sheets. What a beautiful dream. And he plays pretend it's in his head, it's in his head. He wishes he could fix what's in his head, what's in his head. He breaks his heart in every dream where they both kiss underneath the sheets. What a beautiful dream.
I'm back. Good song for the moment. Go follow Sweet Myths. Excellent band. Hello everyone. How are we doing? Bah, humbug. Hey Screech. Hello Iron Feathers. How we doing, y'all? Got so much to talk about today. We've only talked about Hot Frosty. Hello. Found a song for me? Hell yeah, send it to me on Blue Sky. Also, hey, guess what, folks? Guess what? I don't have time to get sidetracked today, sorry. I was featured in this. A piece over on Aftermath. I don't remember if I told you guys about this or not, but I was interviewed for it. And, yeah. It's a very, very good article. I highly recommend you all read it. I'm not going over, like, the entire thing. I'm also not extensively quoted in this. But I do get, like, a solid paragraph quote, which is pretty great. But, yeah, go check it out. It's by my friend Nathan Grayson over at Aftermath. And also support Aftermath. It's one of the few independent media sites that is kind of thriving. And, it's a good place. It's a good place. All right. So last time I'm plugging this until I get featured in another one in the future. But keep this in mind. And also, folks, just plug in some of the stuff I've been in, I guess. I was featured in a video by We're in Hell. It's a good video. Okay? I read a bunch of lines in it. You can hear my voice in this video. Here is a link to it. And there you go. There you go. I read out a bunch of quotes about space. Good space video. About satellites and stuff. And let's see. Do I have anything else to plug at you guys? Oh, only that there was a new... There's a new Guillermo del Toro movie coming out, chat, and I'm really excited about it because I love Guillermo del Toro movies, and he's making Frankenstein, and Frankenstein and Guillermo del Toro go together extraordinarily well. Oscar Isaac is in it, and like that man is extraordinarily hot. And I don't know, I'm just excited to see a very hot guy in a Frankenstein movie directed by Guillermo del Toro, okay? It's gonna be great. Who's Oscar Isaac playing? He's playing Frankenstein. He's playing the mad scientist. And also the very first shot of the movie to be shared in, like, I think Vanity Fair or Variety, I think. Variety would make more sense. It's really beautiful, but I found a slightly lower resolution image of it. And I want to share that with you because tell me this doesn't look like one of the coolest, like, PS2 era RPGs. You know, like, this just looks like a really good PS2 video game that I want to play. Does it not? I think so. Shape of Water is great. Pacific Rim is really great too. I feel like it got kind of hamstrung by studios, but you know, that's neither here nor there. Crimson Peak also very underrated. Does this not look like an RPG though? Like, am I wrong? It's whatever. You guys are no fun. All right, moving right along. Also, chat, if we get some subs and donos going here, I did find an unlisted video of official Star Trek canon. And I want to watch it with you guys because it's really neat and I haven't seen it yet. But you should all check it out. You should consider dropping those subs and donos, and we'll all be able to check it out together. We still have the B song dono goal? No. That was a limited opportunity offer. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, also, well, I'm not the person who'd be making that song, Banana Brains. I can't offer that on someone else's behalf. But I did want to take a look at this. So, folks, people have been noticing how many folks have been leaving Twitter to go to Blue Sky. And it's causing conservatives to have a little bit of a meltdown. Because in their minds, they're doing the vital work of expanding all left-leaning folks' horizons by, you know, saying stuff like trans women aren't women, or, you know, hey, maybe race science is real again, and hey, you know, maybe this eugenics thing is actually good, even though we've established for centuries that it's not. You know, like, a lot of those ideas, they think they're broadening the discussion when they introduce ideas like, you know, the world is flat, or global warming is a hoax. They think this is broadening the discussion and the horizons of all involved. And as someone who's been on the receiving end of a lot of conservative hatred, no, it's not. Being told that you're a man is not a good thing for me. Or for anyone who's like a trans lady. Like, it's not fun. It doesn't broaden my horizon, except, you know, show that, you know, there are people who hate me and probably would like me to die. Which, I don't know if that's a useful bit of info to have reinforced day in and day out. That might actually be something classified as an info hazard. But I digress. Now, if you're like, well, but Jack, surely they're not just talking about, like, I don't know, they aren't really thinking that it broadens your horizons, are they? And yes, they are. That is literally the argument of the Globe and Mail. And I wanted to go over this article with you guys because I've been seeing it pop up everywhere. On the 1980s sitcom Family Ties, a teenage conservative played by Michael J. Fox clashes with his liberal parents. But it was Justine Bateman, the actress who played one of his sisters, who celebrated Donald Trump's recent victory with this viral post on X, decompressing from walking on eggshells for the past 4 years. And I just have to say, why would you open this by talking about Family Ties and Justine Bateman? Like, this is the weirdest, like, intro to this idea. Like, oh, well, she played a character, and he played a character. Anyway, here's something completely unrelated that the actress said, like, 40 years after playing that character. Okay. Anti-wokeness may not have decided the election, and plenty of critics of progressive sanctimony preferred Kamala Harris. Hi, but a perception of Democrats as the party of political correctness didn't help matters. And I just want to stop and say, literally, I do not think that played a role in this at all, except as a jangly bit of keys to distract Republican voters from Googling what is a tariff. You know, genuinely. I think that all of the trans issues that conservatives constantly bring up, it's just jangly keys, flashy keys in the eyes of their constituents, so that they never actually Google, hey, what is Obamacare? Hey, what are tariffs? Hey, why are the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer? You know, that kind of stuff. Thanks, Cool G. But anyway, the circa 2016 liberal belief that Mr. Trump won because voters are bigots was challenged by the strides he made this time around with Black and Latino voters. And again, I don't know that he made strides so much as Kamala Harris just did not have the messaging to win them over. You know? This might seem, then, like a moment for figuring out how to decouple progressive sanctimony from progressive politics. Instead, Mr. Trump's opponents appear to be regrouping on the newly popular social media platform Blue Sky to talk among themselves, which is pretty funny, right? Like, just as a paragraph goes, because one would think that the moment to discuss what happened and figure out what the rhetoric should be going forward and stuff, that's an internal conversation that takes place within left-leaning circles. So it would make sense for lefties to all congregate to talk about how, you know, what approach needs to be embraced in the future. But, like, this article is really mad about that. Blue Sky is a text-heavy social media platform similar to what Twitter, now X, was under Jack Dorsey, who helped found both Twitter and Blue Sky, but is not currently running either. It costs nothing, and it's ad-free and relatively easy to use. Right now, it's functioning largely as an alternative to X, owned by Trump-aligned Elon Musk. And I do have to say, a text-heavy social media platform? Globe and Mail, you're limited to like 140 characters. You can't call that text heavy. This would be like, I don't know, 100 tweets to tweet out this entire article. It's not text heavy. Also, like, you can put images and video on Blue Sky. God. Blue Sky. Oh, is the character limit 200? Okay, I just know that there is a limit. To get a sense of the atmosphere on Blue Sky, peruse the endless stream of posts from users, including from major figures referring to themselves as refugees from X, terminology that made its way uncritically into Slate coverage. The idea that switching over to a different platform for your socials has anything in common with fleeing a war zone is not just clueless. Oh my god. This article is supposed to be anti-woke, and it is complaining about refugee being used outside of people who are displaced by war. Are you fucking kidding me? I haven't read this yet. This is all amazing. Oh my god. The idea that switching... Okay. Which is jarring on a site so otherwise attuned to hypersensitives, though some have called it out in its usual sanctimonious tone, but also indicative of self-seriousness levels. The Discover tab brought me to a post that began, "I love that a week ago I never thought I'd log into this app ever again, and now I'm clinging to it like a scared orphan bear cub getting pulled out of a forest fire." But like... This person is upset because someone jokingly and with hyperbole talked about how, like, attached they are to this new social media site. Like... I think that you're just a conservative bigot who doesn't understand a joke. That's kind of what this seems like. The author of this article is so stuck in their own echo chamber that they think everything people want to talk about is politics. I don't even think honestly, like, they just don't like discovering new posts, I guess. It's so weird. Like... The complaining that refugees being used in a more colloquial way, the idea that, like, this person who's talking about being a scared orphaned bear cub pulled out of a forest fire is being serious about that. Like, I don't know. Like, let me put it this way. I'm autistic as hell, and I understand the nuances going on here. Like, it should be glaringly obvious to someone who's not. But I digress. But the flight to Blue Sky is a concern, not because X is the superior platform, but because at a moment when persuasion and communication are vital, Mr. Trump's loudest and most influential critics are building an echo chamber. Just want to point out that Donald Trump literally owns his own social media website that he only uses. Many conservatives have created their own echo chamber on Rumble. Twitter got bought by Elon Musk and got turned into 4chan. Like... These are echo chambers. These are conservative echo chambers that are built and maintained by conservative figures. Yeah, Kick is another example. Like, yet this author has not. Oh well, you know, you're supposed to just deal with a conservative echo chamber. But heaven forbid you go to like a liberal one. And I do have to say, and I've said this a lot, but I'll say it again. Essentially, leftists never agree on anything. If you are at all familiar with any amount of, like, leftist communication, it's almost impossible because leftists keep disagreeing with each other. It is a hotbed of disagreement. It's just that the thing that they're all mad about is that Blue Sky enforces a terms of service that precludes hate speech. Like, if an echo chamber is you can't have hate speech, like, oh no, that actually sounds pretty good. I don't really care what you call that, an echo chamber, a social media website, whatever. I actually think it's good when a website, patrols hate speech. I think, for example, my community is improved when our mods sniff out like things that toe the line of that sometimes. I think that's good. That's the sign of a healthy community. But I digress. Recreating one's social media from scratch is a hassle. Blue Sky facilitates this through starter packs or user-generated lists of suggested follows. These, too, give a sense of the scene. Left-leaning categories and lists of progressive journalists, academics, and so on. There's an anti-capitalist starter pack, as well as one for asexual and aromantic VTubers. Wow, this website sounds great. Even a problematic faves starter pack, which someone put me on, alas, has liberal commentators and the like. And like The Atlantic. Yeah? Why is she complaining about The Atlantic being on a list? Anyway, at this point, you're either thinking, finally, a Twitter for people like me, or running screaming in the other direction. Good. Get the fuck out. Sorry, that was not in the article. That was me. That was just a guttural statement from my being. The platform feels like a collective endeavor towards a gentler world, which, yeah, it's a distributed social media website. Anyway, etiquette guides abound. Dunking, sharing a bad take for the purposes of mocking it, is discouraged. Let's be clear here. It's not. If you see someone have a bad take, definitely dunk on them. If you see someone having a bad take, you provide commentary. And if they're conservative, dunk the fuck out of them, okay? Have a nicer, kinder world. I think that sounds nice. I think that sounds historically like the thing people who want to improve society somewhat strive for, actually. Like, I don't know. I don't watch the movie Mad Max and think, yes, that's aspirational. Anyway, the people who skeet, what posting is popularly called on the platform, are better than that. I just call it tweeting. I gotta be honest with you. I'm not letting Elon take away the word tweeting from me. But what's missing from Blue Sky isn't merely Nazis, but the center left, the unclassifiable, all the snark unaccompanied by righteous political aims. Why would you want that? Genuine question. Why would you want snarky, empty assholes? What good does that generate? If I'm gonna put up with snarky assholes, I at least want them to be correct. I at least want them to have good policies and political aims. Also, there are tons of middle of the road lefties on Blue Sky. Are you kidding? They do get made fun of, as they should, but they are on there. Normal people use Blue Sky. It's true. It's true. Yeah, no, when this person says center left or unclassifiable, imagine they're saying classical liberal. They're saying they're essentially saying a conservative who's too embarrassed to admit what they are, And so also you can have irreverent humor. Oh my god, can you have irreverent humor? I've seen trans girls drop in the F slur. I've seen, I've seen a lot of irreverent humor and edgy humor on Blue Sky. I don't know, don't be a big baby about it, I guess. Literally they're complaining about there not being enough snarky edgelords. And it's well, if you want that, there are other places you can go for that. Or you could just be a snarky edgelord on Blue Sky and stop giving a fuck about how many people like your snarky edgelordness. Because frankly, if you're giving a fuck about that, you're not really a snarky edgelord, you're just an asshole. Like, snarky edgelords will just say it regardless. Lots of boobs too. True. Gotta adjust your settings to see him though. Let's see here. It's not because conservatives are funnier than liberals. Wait, this is not because conservatives are funnier than liberals. Wait. It has no irreverent humor, no bite. Political uniformity breeds humorlessness. This is not because conservatives are funnier than liberals. Anti-woke comedy is as tedious as woke. But because if everyone is walking on eggshells, then no one risks being a bit silly, which is ridiculous. What is this post if not silly? What about this post, huh? What about this post? Yeah, that's right. There we go. Yeah, that's right. We get a little bit silly up in here. Karl Marx, but his middle name is Skid. Am I shit posting right? Boom. Nailed it. Edgy shit humor. Got it. Nailed it. Anyway, I also just real quick. The funniest jokes about trans people come from like people who aren't making jokes about how trans women are men. You know, like that's what, by the way, and believing that trans women are women is what this person would consider woke, right? The funniest jokes about trans women are recognize that they're women and make fun of them as such. You know, like trans women be shopping. Let's see. At its best, Twitter/X could be funny in a way that transcended culture wars. Stuff like the Nathan Felder 2015 post. Out on the town, having the time of my life with a bunch of friends. They're just at a frame, laughing too. It satirizes trying to come across as popular. This would feel out of place, unseemly on Blue Sky. Does it satirize that, though? Or is it like a larger-than-life version of my girlfriend goes to school in Canada? Like, it's just weird, right? Also, I'm pretty sure, I don't know what Nathan Fielder's, like, political aims are, but I get the distinct impression that he would hate people like the author of this article. Anyway, the closest I've seen has been Jerry Chen's much-shared November 13th skeet. Mental health break? You bet it did. Blue Sky as post-election self-care. What? Did you, like, outline this and just leave this sentence in? Because it doesn't really seem to have anything to do with what you've built up so far, but okay. Where does this metaphor come from? Blue Sky began as an invite-only platform. While it is now open to all, its origins had the effect of recreating the old Twitter blue check regime, wherein media insider sorts set the tone. Some is also built into the platform itself. The account of a British barrister, who I take it has the bad views on gender identity, has been flagged with an intolerance tag. Let me just see who... Naomi Cunningham. Like, it just links directly to a nonprofit. A TERF nonprofit. Cool stuff. Yeah, this is a website dedicated to persecuting trans people. I take it they have the bad view. I take it they have the bad view on Jews, and links directly to like the Nazi Party's website. Like that's like the vibe I'm getting from this. Like you understand that when you are putting like bad in quotation marks and then you just link straight to a website that sole purpose is to be bigoted and spread bigoted propaganda. Like, no, you know that they have the bad views. Why does Blue Sky have a TOS? Yeah. Has been flagged with an intolerance tag for discrimination against protected groups. You can read her posts, but they're individually hidden behind a kind of trigger warning wall. Sensitive and rude material gets similarly flagged. Also, I just want to pause here and say, like, that's literally what conservatives want. Conservatives want the website where, like, if you're just scrolling, you know, nudes get placed behind, like, a little privacy barrier. They want that. You literally want this type of flagging, but you want it for things you personally find offensive. Like, you want this. Frankly, I also think it's fine to tag someone's, like, posts that are hateful with a similar warning. This article's doing a terrific job of making me want to join Blue Sky. Honestly, that was part of the reason I wanted to talk about it, because I think Blue Sky is pretty great. And also, I think the people who run Blue Sky are pretty good. Like, can I find this real quick? It'd be really cool if I could. I think it's under my, like, somewhere here. But, like, the company isn't being run by like Twitter guy Jack Dorsey anymore. Is that, like, Jack Dorsey is like a weird little freak, and so my hesitancy in, like, talking about Blue Sky really did derive from the fact that he was involved with it. But now that he's not, I think it seems pretty good. I think it seems pretty okay. I think it's run by some pretty okay people who are good at their jobs. Let's see, I should be coming up to it now. It's from a few days ago. Found it. Here is, I believe, yeah, the CEO of Blue Sky.
Depends on what kind of user you are.
You know, X has often been associated, particularly given Elon Musk, to promote more right-leaning content. And I do wonder if Blue Sky, given how it's sometimes described, are you intending for it to be a kind of new resistance platform?
We're really building it for everyone. And so it's built for people to take it into their own hands and evolve it the ways that they want. And so the goal is to give people all the tools, all the code, all the ability to customize their experience. And then, you know, I think social media should be basically common infrastructure that society gets to use and evolve it as society evolves. Building a more...
Wait a minute. That actually makes sense. Wait a minute. Internet infrastructure? In this day and age? In 2024? In Biden's America?
democratic form of social media to reflect a democratic society.
Sometimes it's
Depends on what kind of user.
Damn, that sounds pretty cool. I like that. Anyway, let's finish this article because it is so much sillier than I thought it was going to be. Okay. It's not easy to find, but you can change these default settings. Which, yeah. So remember that paragraph we just read about that woman who has hate filters placed over her like skeets? Oh, it turns out you can just turn those off. You can turn that feature off if you don't want to use it. So what are you complaining about? What are you complaining about? You can turn it off. God. But you don't understand. Having the option means some people won't turn it off and will instead be warned when they're about to read some bigoted content. Oh no. Oh no. Did you know that in online video games, if you type the word fuck, it gets censored? Did you know that? Did you know that if you want to be uncensored by the video game, you have to go into the game options and uncensor it? You click the uncensor option, and you can just do that? Oh, that's great. That's crazy. That's crazy. Wild stuff. Next level technology that's been around for like 30 years. Anyway. Nevertheless, they prioritize a sense of safety over exposing anyone to ideas they may disagree with or tones that may diverge from the be kind vibe. The same functions and norms that guard against political extremism overshoot the mark. Now, just want to pause and say, this person thinks that bigoted ideas are just ideas that diverge from the vibe or tone, which that's not what like bigoted ideas are. Like, being a bigot goes beyond simply not being kind, because for example, I can say eat shit, asshole, who wrote this, and that's not me being kind. That's actually me being really unkind. But you know what it's not? It's not me being bigoted. This is not like the same thing. Having an idea that is unkind or diverges is not the same as having, like, you know, bigotry. I don't know. I think it's actually good that people on Blue Sky aren't subjected to endless neo-Nazi propaganda. I think that's good, actually. I think that saves our brains from damage. But I digress. There are also apolitical explanations for Blue Sky's relative surge in appeal. As X has grown more and more clunky to use, ubiquitous and ridiculous ads unless you pay, bots promoting explicit materials, an incentive structure aimed at making outrage bait content go viral, an alternative holds intrinsic appeal. Clever posts on X have dwindled as well. Blue Sky also allows unimpeded links to news articles unlike X, Facebook, and Instagram. Now, I just want to say, this is one paragraph out of a dozen. You know, there are, wait, I'm going to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. There are 18 paragraphs in here. And I just have to say, you waited 15 paragraphs to drop this one. And you then listed, your main thesis was one reason that you very clearly have an axe to grind on. And then you proceed to get to 15 paragraphs in. Well, actually, it also makes a lot of sense if you don't want to just be spammed with ads, and you want a website that actually functions, and also you don't want your data scraped by AI, and also you don't want just like porn bots all over your DMs, and also you have more clever posts. Wait, that sounds a lot better. Like, have you considered that maybe having like a TOS against hate speech that's actually enforced and all of these other things are the driving forces? It's not just the one thing. It's not like this overarching goal to build an echo chamber. It's just a desire to not have hate speech and bots and AI systematically destroying your experience in order to make you angry every second of every day that you look at social media. You know? Like, I don't know. I think it's kind of nice to have a social media website I can look at that doesn't just fill me with rage and misery. Like, also, yeah, getting unimpeded links to news articles is nice. Is Blue Sky safe from a billionaire buying it? I have no idea, but I think that the people currently running it are good, relatively. Nothing's ever truly safe from a billionaire buying it. $1 billion is a lot of money. Jack, it's worth pointing out it's less a TOS and more a moderation queue. It's perfectly possible to have bigoted Blue Sky. You just have to subscribe to a different moderation service. Well, yeah. That's the other thing that has been under-discussed so far in this article, and that's its kind of open nature. It's a whole thing, but I'm not getting into that right now. Also, Brutus Magnuson, thank you for being the first person to support stream today. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Let's not forget passwords and personal info being leaked after Elon fired all the competent tech people. Yeah, and all those competent tech people went to work on Blue Sky, and it works way better now. The only thing that works poorly on Blue Sky is the fact that it needs to scale up its infrastructure to accommodate like 1 million plus users a day that have been joining it. It's been kind of crazy. Anyway, let's try and finish this. And in terms of viewpoint diversity, the reality is that many progressive-leaning individuals and institutions have left X or likely will soon. The Guardian has announced as much. National Public Radio, beloved of American liberals, just not exclusively so, did the same in April of 2023. So now there are 2 Twitters. If you don't want to silo yourself off or log off, you need to be on both. Toggling between 2 platforms is annoying, but that's not the main issue. If the idea is to create a safe space for the like-minded in politics and an affinity for scolding, then fair enough. But if the aim is to defeat authoritarianism, I'm not persuaded that Blue Sky helps. It's not just that the platform as it currently exists sheds no light on why Mr. Trump won, it's that left liberal smugness was part of the problem. And you can't point that out on a platform going all in on the same. Well, wait a minute. Let's test that theory. Let's test that theory real quick, okay? New post, okay? One of the reasons Trump won was because of liberal smugness. Here, you know what? We'll even do fact. And you know what? Fact. Another one of the reasons Trump won was because of a liberal inability to meet the material needs of their constituents. Oh, that's a lot of H's. There we go. Yeah, my keyboard is cheap because I bought it as just like a stand-in until I get my full workstation over here. Whew. But let's see how that goes. I think it'll go okay. Somehow I get the feeling, you know, we're testing it in live time. Let's see here. Now, click clack, indeed. We got to verify that account. I do have to verify the account, but I'll work on it. Anyway, I do want to say, it's that left liberal smugness that was part of the problem, and you can't point that out on a platform going all in on the same. No, the thing that lost Kamala Harris this election wasn't smugness, though I'm sure that was a factor. The main factor was the fact that, like, she didn't have an economic message that resonated with working class voters. It's one of the first elections in modern history where Democrats lost the working class. That's the fundamental shift. It's not that Donald Trump was doing special, like, you know, overtures to the African American community or the Latino community. Like, it is very specifically that, like, Biden has offered them relatively little. Again, both groups, but both, like, African Americans and Latinos disproportionately, like, impoverished compared to, you know, white folks. And also, like, working class people in general didn't get much. They didn't see a lot of these improvements Biden made to the economy. Like, lower unemployment rate of, like, you know, 2% lower, that doesn't translate to, like, an individual worker in a rural community or in most communities. On top of that, you have issues like Gaza, which, you know, kind of take away the sheen of the anti-war Democrats, which historically that's been the Democratic position. And, like Biden wasn't able to get through, like, a $15 minimum wage, which would have bumped up wages not just for minimum wage workers, but for people, you know, making a slightly more than minimum wage. You know, a lot of people don't view themselves as middle class either. True. And this is because her economic policy was directed by her brother-in-law, who, again, CFO of Uber. Like, you don't get much less out of touch with the working class voter than with the CFO of Uber. So, yeah. Democrats only got the anti-war reputation in the Bush era. Yeah, but, like, that's mostly what we're talking about. We're talking about, like, what helped in, like, the last few election cycles, and, like, that's the reputation Democrats had. Of course, in, like, the mid-20th century, they were pro-war and hawkish because American empire, baby. But, like, you know, the backlash against Bush, you know, that's been the last, like, quarter of a century almost. So that's kind of what defines modern Dems, and she did not really play into that at all. I mean, Mad Laden, it's definitely, you definitely could have gotten a much better campaign if she hadn't been, like, thrown in mid-election season, but I think she could have won. I think the margins being as close as they are indicate that she could have won. If she had run a better campaign. Like, obviously, it was a race with, like, one arm tied behind her back, but, like, I think she still could have, like, pulled it out. But that would have required embracing, like, a populist message that she was too cowardly to actually embrace. Anyway, Blue Sky is pretty cool. You should probably get on it, and also consider locking your Twitter account. I unlocked mine for a little bit so I could plug that Aftermath article, and maybe I'll occasionally unlock it to, like, just be like, hey, I did a thing. But other than that, I'm pretty much done on Twitter. Go follow me on Blue Sky. Segment button. Done. Hey. There we go. We did it. We did another segment. Also, chat. We've been going for an hour and a half. If you've been enjoying the stream, please, please, please consider dropping those subs, those donos, those memberships, those super chats, because I can't make this stream happen without your guys' support. Literally not possible for me to do. I do not make money off of the ads in any way that matters, especially now that Twitch has rolled out its draconian new ad stuff for anyone who talks about anything remotely political. Good job, LGBTQ creator hub. I'm a featured pride creator on Twitch, and they fucked us all over good. Would you be down for a riverboat server for our community? If I don't have to do anything for it, yeah. I don't know what that does. I don't know why I would care about it. if you guys want to do that, go knock yourselves out, I guess. Hey, Aska. How we all doing, folks? Again, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, consider dropping those subs and donos. And let's see. Boo, boo, boo. Hello, Salty Turtle Cupcake. Hey, Glitchmaster. Thank you. It's a little ditto. All right. Let's see here. Just checking in on this. You know, I'm noticing that oh damn. Looks like somebody did tell me I can't post this here. Oh no, my speech is being censored for my off-color views. The horror. Thanks for streaming, I really appreciate it. Found a puppet guy I really liked. After binging his stuff, found out he's a raging trans medicalist. Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry. What the hell? How do you get into puppetry and find yourself spreading bigotry? Like you're a puppet guy. You're bottom of the food chain. Okay? You're bottom of the food chain. When jocks are looking for people to bully, you're first up. Puppeteers are the freakiest people I know. I love puppets. This is nothing against puppets or puppetry, but like, I do find the idea of a bigoted puppeteer just kind of inherently funny. Found out WASD keyboards are gone now? Why? I bought one like a year ago. This is like when Shadiversity came out as pro bullying. I have not seen that. Please, someone send that to me over on Blue Sky so I can talk about it later. That would be fucking hilarious. Beep boop. All right. Moving right along. So I have another fun story that also made me viscerally angry. Also, just real quick, there are almost 200 of you watching on YouTube, and there are only 56 likes. Go hit that follow button. By follow button, I mean like button. Go hit that like button. No freeloading. Hit the button. Oh, goodness. All right. So, chat. I was sent something by my partner a while ago, but it's been on my mind ever since. And it just made me so mad. And not at, like, any particular thing, just in general mad. And that is, I found out about I believe it's called the 1909 Baker Electric, which is one of the earliest electric vehicles that exists. And, well, I'm going to show it to you. And I think you might understand where I'm coming from on this. Also, Jay Leno is in this clip.
Welcome back to My Classic Car.
This is the solution. This was a revolutionary car in its day. This is a 1909 Baker Electric.
Where's the front end?
Yeah, just in case you guys don't know, Jay Leno collects cars. And he just has an ungodly number of cars, which honestly kind of should belong in a museum. But like, you know what? Controversial take. I think if you have a museum of cars that you personally own, maybe we need higher taxes on the rich. I'm throwing that out there. I'm throwing out the idea that maybe we should tax these motherfuckers more. You know, I don't have a complicated tax plan. I just see that he has a private museum of cars. And I think, boy, taxation sure would solve this problem and allow us to, I don't know, make sure no kid goes hungry in America. Anyway.
That's the great thing about it. It's a bit like driving a phone booth. I have to say, it's the only car I have that's 100% maintenance free. I mean, I painted it and restored it, but the windings are of such high quality.
It just doesn't break down.
You know, at the turn of the century, they really wanted to show people how, because people were scared of electricity.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a frightening thing at the time. You know, it's a bit like hydrogen is now. People are like, hey, wait a minute.
Hit that Hindenburg thing.
Yeah, can't you get electrocuted? You know, so the idea, I mean, it's such a beautifully put together motor. And although it looks like a carriage, it is a carriage, but it has some high-tech ideas for the time. You have leather fenders. See, leather was the carbon fiber of the day. Very lightweight.
I just, like, one, this car is beautiful. But two, like, keep in mind, this is an electric car built in 1909.
Lightest, yeah, okay.
Very lightweight.
This front window, I mean...
Well, these open and close. And you have to understand, this is even before the advent of the wind-up window. So what you had to do was you'd undo these here. These are, if you notice, they're like, whoa! They're like railroad windows. You pull it up like this. Oh, wow. You see, and then you pull it over, and then you kind of put it back down again there.
That's cool.
But see, these were...
That's quite an ornate interior.
Well, here's the trouble with electric cars. The idea was they really appealed to women because at the time, you know, the self-starter hadn't been invented yet. So
steam was a hassle.
Steam was a hassle, and steam was dirty and messy and scary.
Now, chat, I want to take bets. Where do you think that this is going to go? Where do you think this is going to go, guys? Someone bought it out and dead. Comrade girl, you got it. It's sexism time, baby.
You know, regular automobiles, you had to hand crank and bang and set the choke and work the clutch. These were popular as women's shopping cars. So what they did was they really marketed them to women. They made it look like a woman's sitting room. You had the flowers. You see, see the clock, and there's a makeup.
Oh, how nice.
You open up, and there's face powder and, you know, makeup and all. But then the problem was, well, no man wanted to buy a woman's car. I mean, that was the problem with
Really?
it. So consequently, electrics were relegated as women's shopping cars. But this thing went 100 miles on a charge.
This thing had a car battery in 1909 that allowed it to have a 100-mile range. And people didn't buy it because they thought, nah, that's girly shit. We want these maintenance-heavy engines. Hand crank recharge in a pinch too. Yeah. Just gonna back this up.
Electrics were relegated as women's shopping carts. But this thing went 100 miles on a charge. At the turn of the century, there were 15,000 of them in New York City. You could drive, there were charging stations all over the city.
Really?
Yeah.
There were 15,000 of these
Oh,
cars?
yeah, they were all over the place. There were a lot of them.
I mean, looking like this, looking like the phone
Yeah,
booth?
yeah. And they were really quite...
They had charging station infrastructure all across New York City. We literally were standing on the precipice of deciding between electrified infrastructure for electric vehicles that in 1909 had a range of 100 miles, and the alternative was the noisy, disgusting explosion engines that run off of oil we have to dig out of the ground that are slowly going to kill the planet. And we went with the second option when we could have gone with the first one. And I'm not saying that cars are the answer, because obviously we should have more train infrastructure. We can have hyper-efficient trains and electrified transit with trains. But it probably would have helped if we had just gone with electric cars. Because, guys, we also could have been putting all of our science points into the battery tech tree for the last 120 years. We could have been putting all of our science and technology on efficient battery and on efficient, like battery locomotion. And, like, we didn't do that. We just didn't do that. I am also very upset at Andromeda. Yeah, the men saw this and went, effective technology that's efficient and works well? Must be for women's work. And unironically, that killed the electric car. It really makes me upset.
You know, it's interesting. One day I was having my house termited. They put the, the big tent over it. So my wife said, I want to stay at the Beverly Hills Hotel. We never stayed there. And I said, okay, so we'll spend 2 days at the Beverly Hills Hotel. So I drive this to the Beverly Hills Hotel, and I pull up, and they go, hey, is that Mrs. So-and-so's car? And I go, who's Mrs. So-and-so? She goes, oh, she used to come in and get her hair done every year for almost 50 years. And she would
So,
park
the old school, we're going to be exploring space in 200. Sci-fi authors were pretty much right. Save we got the bad timeline.
No, yeah, exactly.
This makes me mad.
Exactly, Lady Raincloud. Exactly. That's kind of the thing, right? Also, thank you for the $5 dono. Also, if we get 18 more donos, okay? If we get 18 more donos, or their subscription equivalent, I'll play the Star Trek thing. We need 17 now. Thank you so much, Rowanal. That can't be how your username is pronounced. Rowan Al? Rowan Al 69. Thank you for subscribing with Prime.
In one of these.
And I said, well, where did... She goes, well, we haven't seen her in a year or two. And I tried, and she had just died. But she had a Baker Electric, and I never found the car. But from like 1935 until almost 2001, she would take this thing to the Beverly Hills Hotel every week to get her hair done.
Now, you might think, oh, well, that's the end of the segment. No.
Welcome back to My Classic Car.
Transmission?
No, it's
just
direct. That's the great thing about electricity, is like steam. You have all your torque right
There,
away.
yeah.
So it'll climb any hill at 23 miles an hour. That 23 miles an hour is about the top speed.
Kinda what it does.
And believe me,
Which, like, for a car in 1909, 23 miles an hour is probably about as fast as you want to be going anywhere. You know?
When you're going downhill with this 22 miles an hour,
Plenty fast. Plenty
because
fast.
it tends to high side. It is like driving a phone booth. And you know, my wife loves it because we use this at the holidays to go look at the Christmas lights. And it's the only car I have with the deer. The deer come right up and look in the window because there's no smell, there's no sound.
Yeah, yeah.
And they, you know, if there's deer on the road, we'll stop. And they walk right up. I think it's something about this curved glass. And they go like this, and they look in. Well, that's because not my wife. That makes it the great.
Oh, isn't this great?
It's the greatest car we've ever had. Yeah, yeah.
So charging stations. Were
This is the
everywhere with
original charging station here. I don't have all the pieces to put it together, but it does have sort of. You gonna talk, Larry?
16.
Yeah, we could have had world-class public transit and electric car infrastructure for decades. But have you considered owning an electric car is for women and makes you gay?
Ah, the feminization camps were actually were actually electric car manufacturers. I understand. I see now.
Hey, it does have that kind of electric. And these are kind of cool. These are the original Thomas Edison batteries. Thomas Edison invented the alkaline battery to double the range
of electric cars?
Of electric cars. And he did. It just didn't double it enough. It wasn't far enough. But see, what you do is you take them, you'd flush them out, you'd clean them, then you pour fresh acid in them, and they were good for another 2 or 3 years. You know, so you could use these same batteries over and over again. And so you still got all the Edison patent information, and you know.
Man. Now that's...
It really is crazy. Like, this was a charging station right here. Like, we could have had this.
That's got to be a rare piece.
See, do not use acid in this battery. You put water in it. I'm sorry, Mr. Edison. I said acid. It's distilled water. Yeah.
Wild looking car, and you as with many of your cars, you have kind of the original.
Yeah, that's the original ad. That was quite a racy ad in the day. So you got the guy says, "Daddy, get me a baker," but you're not quite clear if it's really her father or some creepy.
No, like unironically though, like this is the kind of thing that made tech such a male-dominated field, right? Like advertising campaigns similar to this, right? Like one of the famous examples of, you know, industries that kind of got killed by societal sexism is that originally women were the ones who did coding. Women made software. Women worked as computers before we invented machine computers. And that remained true for a very long time. Men were working on the hardware because that was considered masculine, and women made the software. And as time went on, in like the late 70s, maybe even mid 70s, men started entering software more and more, and they formed male social clubs. And over time, those social clubs muscled out women out of the industry. And then you had mass advertising campaigns that marketed, software, video games, computers to men specifically, because by that point, you know, there were so many men that it was just a given that, oh, men are more minded for computer work. Despite the fact that women had taken that and ran with it like the entire time since before computers were machines. And so, yeah, exactly. Prior to like machine computing, computers were a profession. You worked as a computer. And that's how a lot of scientists, like, they would have rooms full of people doing the math, and those people were usually women. But in a very similar way, Baker Electric marketed this to women because of like this societal expectation that women don't want those explodey cars. They want these safe, quiet, effective, good cars. Like, this is unironically, and then men saw these advertisements and were like, oh, those types of cars are for ladies. Gotcha. And that is largely where like this idea that still persists to this day that like electric cars are effeminate. It was a recurring joke throughout like the early 2000s that hybrid electric vehicles were gay, and it's largely rooted in stuff like this.
Congressman, look at it.
he does have that creepy
And look at
congressman
her little
thing.
innocent face in the window up there. She's kind of.
Let me out.
Yeah, it just has that sort of. I'll get you a baker.
So like, where do you store the batteries for this baby?
Well, you saw the Edison batteries. I
Yeah,
just showed
yeah.
you those.
And
I
that's
can
what it
use
would go
those
in.
if I want, but I've just got modern batteries. They fit right in there.
6 of them.
6 in the front, 6 in the back. Yeah, yeah.
And those Edison crates would have taken the place of these.
Right, same thing, same thing. These are deep cycle. These are like you'd use in a golf cart. Or something
And they're
of that
6 volt. They're 6 volt batteries.
Yeah, yeah. You get more power with 6 volts.
More amperage.
I guess so. I'm not a big electric guy. I think yeah, sure, more amperage. That sounds good.
Yeah. What do you
Hey,
say?
Jazz Dog.
Yeah.
Deep cycle 6 batteries, 6 volts, seem to have more power. So that's why we use them. People look at it and they have no idea how you drive it because you see there doesn't appear to be any. So
No, there doesn't appear to be a steering wheel. So how does one
well,
drive
hop
this
in.
thing?
I'll show you. Hop in. Hop in.
Okay.
It
so I
didn't
just-
even have a
just hop
steering
in.
wheel.
Hop in. Slide over.
Okay.
This is your tiller right here. This is what you steer with. You release your handbrake and you turn your key.
There's some gauge went up. Volts
Yeah.
went up. And away we go.
Fucking magic, dude. This car is 110 years old and some change.
Welcome back to My Classic Car.
The bills. I think the bills.
Yeah, the bills
Just that's worth the price of admission.
It's
right there.
so
has that
quiet.
department store, menswear, lingerie kind of thing to it, you know. And you keep your eye on your gauges.
It makes me so angry.
Plus, you can look down on other cars.
You do have that kind of superior feel up here. You know?
And the nice thing is,
Unironically, like I look at this and I'm like, this looks like a future vehicle. Like this looks like the H.G. Wells The Time Machine type device. Like this is cool. And obviously you couldn't have the same form factor today because it is probably like structurally unsafe. But like, goddamn, we could have had something real special here.
That guy's hair/mustache combo is so fitting for this car.
Right. Veronica B, thank you for the $5 super chat. And we only need 15 more subs and donos for Star Trek content. And I only have an hour and a half left, so I hope you guys make it in time.
is you can look down on Prius owners with their gas-polluting 3-cylinder, whatever that is, motor.
Electricity
Amber
only,
Brains.
and everything. Even the lights are electric on this.
Yeah, electric lights. Electric lights were a big deal in 1909. Most cars still had gas lamps, so this was all electric. Like one of my
Most cars still had gas lamps. This thing was like from the goddamn future. And people were like, nah, the future's for ladies. It had electric lights in a time when most cars had gas lamps. This was the era when essentially the gas industry was lobbying to convince people that electric lighting was deeply unsafe because it could cause fires. And keep in mind, they were defending an industry that revolved around open goddamn flames.
wife and I go out to eat, I park and I just leave the lights on, you know. But you know, you can see you really don't want to go much faster than
No,
this.
no, this is probably good enough. And it is really as tall as it is long.
It is. It is tall. And the suspension is not really
there. Not really there.
See, since we're going downhill, we're using less hand.
There's no regenerative braking or any of that kind of stuff.
As usual, Jay let me take the wheel. I mean, tiller, rudder thingy, whatever.
This is a little unnerving, Jay. It's just
When you see suddenly 23 miles an hour, it's pretty damn scary.
I will never complain again. This is cool, Jay.
It makes me so mad.
Flat out.
Yeah.
There are like 3 or 4 generations of human beings working their entire lives on developing new technology that could have been dedicated to making this technology, and instead we used it on goddamn machines that are killing the planet.
Hey, I'm doing the best I can, okay? But I'm enjoying the ride.
But it's pleasant.
It's great. It's great.
But you can see, like, when you watch this and you look at this thing's form factor, like, where the Jetsons idea of the future came from, right? Like, they're sitting in, like, this comfy, cozy little pod, and it's just zooming along.
When you look at the Christmas lights, it's the best.
And actually, after you get onto it, it is kind of relaxing.
Yeah, it's just a fast jog.
Yeah, no, like what I'm talking about is like a century, and some change of like making this technology better. We could be in such a better position on the world stage, like all of us, the entire planet.
I would think as a taxi it'd be great because you don't go very fast. The meter just keeps running and running.
Exactly, that was the advantage. But in the day, this is about Model T only went 42 miles an hour, and this goes 23. So don't forget, the roads weren't paved.
Right. It's even tough to make a hand signal. You kind of reach out around.
It's not quite perfected yet.
It's still working out some bugs. Because it is top heavy. Oh yeah. We're here. We made it.
Next week, we'll travel to...
Oh my god. Anyway, I needed to share my pain with you guys because that made me so upset at how this idea, this toxic idea of masculinity, when people talk about toxic masculinity, it's not just that, like, in an abstract way it hurts like individual men, which it does, but it is also that tangibly it affects society on a mass level. Like, the idea that we shouldn't adopt, like, this new amazing technology that allows for silent, efficient cars that don't spew toxins into the atmosphere, and, like, you can charge for free, essentially. Like, the idea that we didn't get that because men looked at that and were like, that's not masculine enough. That's not masculine. There's nothing masculine about cars. Inherently, like, we are the ones that project masculinity onto, like, vehicles, or femininity onto vehicles. We do that. And if we made better choices, we might not have robbed ourselves of an incredible technological advancement. And it's deeply frustrating. Anyway, all of this to say is electric vehicles are really, really cool, and I do want more train infrastructure, because train infrastructure is like the most efficient form of moving stuff around that we have. We can even make maglev trains that levitate. Like, they're so cool. But we could have had this. We had something special, and we threw it away in favor of machines that are killing us. And that are going to kill our children. And that's sad. But I'm glad to know that the Baker Electric existed, and hey, maybe we'll make better choices next time. or maybe not. We might make worse choices, given the current political state of things. So who knows? Hey, but the sun rises again tomorrow, and we can always try again. So there we go. We did it. We did the segment. We won't. Don't be so fatalistic. Thanks, Henry Ford, you Nazi, right? Hello, Priscilla. Also, folks, we've now been going for 2 hours. If you've been enjoying the show, please hit the follow button on Twitch, hit the subscribe button on YouTube, like the goddamn YouTube stream, and consider dropping those subs, donos, memberships, etc. Because we are currently, I believe, 15 subs away, or their dono equivalents, away from doing some Star Trek stuff. It might even make some of you cry. I know it might make me cry. I'm looking forward to sharing that segment everywhere. Hell yeah. I'm looking forward to having the mental energy to edit segments. Trek? I need some Trek. I need some Trek too, but I only have an hour and a half, so hopefully you guys drop those subs and donos by then. If the guy who introduced lead into fuel for cars to make engines run smoother didn't, we might have progressed more in electric. He was also responsible for the introduction of CFCs. Yeah. Why for? Because it's really sweet. It's a really sweet segment. Are you going to watch that Voyager documentary? No, it's even better. All right, moving right along. Okay, I wanted to talk about this. Oh, wait, do we have any Oilers? Oilers? Any Oilers out there in the audience? Also, I almost let you guys off the hook. I'm looking at how many people have liked the stream so far. Oh, I have to go pick up my partner, Lady Raincloud, but I have an hour and a half, so... Okay, we have over 200 people watching now. We still haven't cracked 100 likes. Come on, let's get a base rate of 50% like. Come on, I know you guys can do it. I mean, yeah, but Star Trek is hard to sell. Maybe. True. There we go. Crossing the 100 likes. Proud of you guys. Thank you. If I didn't have to get passports for myself and my wife, I don't know, but hopefully people don't know. Yeah, I gotta do that too. Sucks. New Moon JLP, thank you very much for the Prime. And that brings it down to 14. I believe in you guys. Okay. Now, I am going to hit the segment button because we're doing another one. So I just want to say props to this particular small town in Canada, okay? There is a town council in Canada that is refusing to swear an oath of allegiance to King Charles, and it's causing a bit of a kerfuffle. And you know what? Hats off to them. I hope they persist. I hope they refuse to bend the knee, because this is kind of based, kind of great. The council of a town in Canada's Yukon Territory has been locked for weeks in bureaucratic standstill after its members refused to swear a mandatory oath of allegiance to King Charles, citing the Crown's tarnished relations with Indigenous peoples in the region. The standoff, which threatens to cost them their seats, reflects a complicated view of the country's head of state, who lives thousands of miles away and increasingly serves as a reminder of a history of violence and broken promises. And this is this is Dawson City. And like, you know what? Yeah, nah, fuck them. You don't swear allegiance to a king. The king doesn't do shit for Canada. You don't have to swear allegiance to him. Especially if you're refusing to swear allegiance on behalf of Indigenous people in Canada. Let's go. Let's see here. In mid-October, residents of Dawson City, notorious as the birthplace of the sour toe cocktail, which included a mummified human toe. Not Dawson City's finest moment. Not their finest moment. Don't judge them on that. No, that's what it literally says that in the article right here. Voted to replace the town's mayor and council, turning the page on an administration gripped by scandal and legal wrangling. Screech, thank you for the $5
I'm 16
dono.
minutes behind Levant. But fun fact, Ada Lovelace created the math behind programming.
True, Screech, thank you for the $5 super chat. And that's true. Ada Lovelace made the first computer program where, like, if you they've done this. If you like run it in a computer, like it does function, which is kind of crazy that she invented the first computer program despite there not being mechanical computers. Anyway, that's really neat. Also, 13 more subs. Let's go. Now, but since then, the council has been in procedural limbo. Quote, "We can't do anything legally required of us, so we are sort of, kind of, council, and I'm sort of, kind of, the mayor." The mayor-elect Stephen Johnson told Canadian Press. It's a bit of a sticky situation. Under Yukon's Municipal Act, elected officials are required to take the oath of allegiance and an oath of office. But shortly before the incoming council was due to take office, Councillor-elect Darwin Lin, a member of the Turondak Hwench-in First Nation, I'm sorry for butchering that, told colleagues he wasn't comfortable pledging allegiance to the crown due to its troubled history with Indigenous peoples. Councillors took the oath of office on the 5th of November, but have refused to swear or affirm that they will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III and his heirs and successors according to law. Johnson said the council decided to refuse the oath of allegiance in solidarity with Lynn, acknowledging a colonial history of displacement for the peoples living and using the lands for generations before the arrival of settlers. Honestly, based as hell. Like, not only did this one guy stand firm in his conviction, but everyone else on the town council, like, was like, yeah, we're gonna stand with you. This is great. This is great. Amazing stuff. Let's see here. This is... Okay, this is kind of a cucked take. This is being done with no disrespect to His Majesty King Charles, and also we're not doing this to go, rah, rah, look at us, to poke everybody across Canada to get rid of the crown. Johnson told the press, "It was just something we wanted to do together to show solidarity in what we do here in this town." Which... Look, if you're gonna refuse to swear allegiance to him, you should maybe not call him His Majesty. You know, down with the honorifics. Up with the guillotines. I mean, you know, just in case King Charles tries to come and settle things personally. I think it's great. Apparently, Quebec in 2022 passed legislation ending elected officials' required oath to King Charles. It seems like it's time Yukon did the same. Just throwing that out there. Come on, go anti-monarchist. You know you want to. Anyway, I thought this was a great story. I'm always down to talk about people refusing to acknowledge or pay respect to monarchs, because you know what? No one should be a monarch, and no one should be a billionaire. And frankly, the sooner we get rid of respect for both, the better off our world will be. Happy to see this as a Canadian. Hell yeah, good on you guys. Let's see. The only monarchs I respect are the butterflies. True. True. Also, I don't want to make a segment about this, but guys, my favorite piece of artwork sold again. It sold again, guys. This time for $6.2 million. Yeah, $6.24 million. Comedian. It's called The Comedian. It's so good. Amazing stuff. Where'd you get that photo of me? It's just so funny. People get so mad about it. Also, I do think it's really funny that in the last 5 years, it somehow gained $6.1 million of value. How old and rancid is that banana by now? That's the best part. That's the best part of The Comedian. You replace the banana and duct tape. It's not one piece of artwork. When you buy it, you get a specific set of instructions for how to place the tape and the banana. And how to place the banana. It's really, really funny. A lot of people get so mad at this when like this is supposed to make fun of art itself, like the commodified nature of like recurring art, like high art pieces. And I think it's real funny. I think it's great. It's basically an NFT, kind of, but it's an NFT that specifically makes fun of snobby art folks, which I'm always in favor of. And then it also makes fun of people who are too dull-witted to actually look up what the piece is. This is my favorite non-segment of the stream. Didn't some dude go over and eat it once? Yeah! A college student in, like, Hong Kong, I think, was hungry and was at the museum, walked over, unduct taped it from the wall, and ate it. Oh, God. God, it's so funny. Anyway, I think it's bloody brilliant. All right. Okay, so we have a limited amount of time. I've done a number of the things I wanted to here, but not everything. We'll get rid of some of these tabs here. Yo, Salmon Moose!
A beginning is a very delicate time. Know then, that it is the year 10,191. The known universe is ruled by the Padisha Emperor Shaddam IV, my father.
What is this from? I'm trying to figure it out. First of all, thank you for the 10 gifted tier 1 subs. That is extraordinarily generous of you. Is this Dune? Is this... Is this Dune? Bless the maker and his water. What's this about, Cenk? Well, that's the thing. I have enough time maybe to get through that if we jet. Thank you so goddamn much for the 10 gifted tier 1 subs. We only need 3 more subs to make Star Trek happen, okay? We only need 3 more subs. So let's either get those subs or buckle down for this segment.
Problems that
oh
they
my
caused.
God! Oh my god! Oh my god! Okay. All right. Cool. Whew. Star Trek. Star Trek. It's on you, chat. Salmon Moose has carried you up the hill on her back. But it's up to you to make it through the hell mouth to the center of Mount Doom and cast the ring in. Star Trek, your confusion? Look, there was a cool unlisted Star Trek thing that I found that came out recently and is apparently, like, it's apparently a thing that was sanctioned by Star Trek canon, and it's new and cool and neat. Also, Monica G, thank you for the gifted membership. We need 2 more people. Starm Tramp. Sounds cool? I think it's cool. Shh, John Bainbridge, shh. Yo, Maratiahu! Dicks to you too!
Dicks.
Let's go. Let's go! I'm so excited. Alright. Here we go. It's so cool. Apparently this was made for the Apple Vision Pro. Which, we're not watching it on that, obviously. Yeah, it's Sarek.
possibilities, Spock said. And if Genesis is indeed life from death, I must return to this place again.
That was so good. But, yeah, this is officially sanctioned by William Shatner and the Nimoy estate. And, yeah, it's about them finding each other again. Ugh, I'm crying. Nindreen, thank you so much. And yeah, you have and always shall be my friend. Thank you so much. But yeah, they actually, they filmed that, you know? And them finding each other again in death. And they were crewmates. Nindreen, thank you so much. That is an incredibly generous dono. That was sweet. I missed the beginning. Yeah, here's the link. It is unlisted, so it might be hard to find again, but like... My partner and I just finished watching the original series. devastated. I mean, like, I'm devastated in a good way. Like, it's such a beautiful story. Second star to the right and straight on until morning, friends. God damn. Yeah. In association with William Shatner and the Nimoy Estate, releases 765874. I'm not really sure what this means. Unification. Commemorating the 30th anniversary of Star Trek Generations. Yeah, this was produced for the Archive app on Apple Vision Pro. And yeah, it's pretty incredible stuff. It shows how much of a gift life is. Yeah. It is. Yeah. Comrade Girl, thank you for the $10 super chat. It is very kind of you. Just the premise of that, the audio sample, and the music, yeah. Oh, it's the branding of Otoy's series? Gotcha.
It shows how much of a gift life is.
To absent friends, indeed. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. Let's see here. Yeah, William Shatner and Susan Bay Nimoy, widow of the late Leonard Nimoy, served as executive producers on the production. Shatner worked with Otoy team to fine-tune the technical and creative direction required to bring his interpretation of Kirk back to live action for the first time in 30 years, including the addition of his voice to narrate a key moment in the experience. And describing the technology as digital prosthetic technology used to revisit Star Trek history, Shatner said, quote, "It takes years off your face so that in a film you can look 10, 20, 30, 50 years younger than you are." And Shatner surprised fans yesterday when he shared the first private screening of the video at the Star Trek tour in Ticonderoga, New York. And it featured original music by Star Trek composer Michael Giacchino. Oh, that's cool. God. They invented that digital prosthetic stuff for Forrest Gump. It's true. It is wild. Thanks, Forrest Gump. My screen's now all blurry. Gonna go watch it. Go for it. It's a beautiful conclusion to their story, you know? And it is extraordinarily gay. You know, like it's both beautiful friendship and, you know, like really lovely, you know, homosexuality. Like, I don't know, I think it's a really beautiful thing that like Kirk passes on and, you know, into the next great adventure, and he finds his friend and there's a world of possibility before them. And I think that's wonderful. I think that's really, really wonderful. Welcome, Raiders. You came in right after we watched a Star Trek short that eviscerated our hearts. Yeah, my partner and I just finished watching the original series, so that really hit. That really hit. I want to talk to women who are writing Kirk Spock / scenes so bad. Like, I just want to let them know how much they changed your life. Yeah. I bet they would appreciate that. Welcome, Raiders. Oh, God. That got me. That got me good. And thank you, folks, for donoing and getting us to that point. And again, thank you so much, Nindrine, for your extraordinarily generous dono. God. Okay. Did you miss all the fun? You did not. We have about an hour left, so we're gonna try to do our best, and I'm gonna try to not get heated as much as I might want to for this segment. Okay? All right. Are you guys ready? We're about to talk about Cenk Uygur and the Young Turks, and I think, and why I think we're basically at Cenk's "why I left the left" moment. Okay? All right. Hey, Feistiest Bard. We're doing it. We're doing it. Okay? Here we go. So, folks, I have been kind of putting off doing this segment because, frankly, I've got a lot on my plate right now, just in real life and emotionally, and also, you know, I needed some time. I needed some time.
I am shimping off to Boston BWA.
Story the Bard, thank you for the $80 dono. God damn. All right. Thank you so goddamn much. Thank you. You guys are gonna make me cry again. God. But essentially, I made a long video about Anna Kasparian from the Young Turks and how she's kind of left the left, like, officially now. And I think that we're basically upon Cenk Uygur's moment of leaving the left, you know, in any way that matters, I guess. You know, putting aside the fact that he works with Brianna Wu, someone who is pretty goddamn conservative, but, like, we're going into weirder territory here, and I was gonna cover this. We covered some of this before, but we're gonna go through it now.
Pull for the
in its
riverboat.
entirety.
Glory to the trans.
Pluto Burns, thank you for the $20 super chat. And indeed, thank you for fueling the riverboat paddles, because they must go burr. That's my paddle. I can afford to give emotional support. Emotional support I also accept. Emotional and button support. Hit those sub buttons, hit those follow buttons, hit those like buttons, hit the buttons. All right. Anyway, we're going over this.
The debate over why Kamala Harris lost and who gets the blame continues to rage, and we're even going to have a debate amongst ourselves here in a bit. But first, somebody who worked on the campaigns of Al Gore, Hillary Clinton, and Kamala Harris has something to say. Take a look.
Here's the problem. I'm not concerned right now what the right thinks about the Democratic Party. I'm concerned about what I think about the Democratic Party. I don't like to echo the congressmen, all three of them. I don't like the fact that a small portion of our party is pretty much dictating where we are. That they are pretty much, we are being branded as the most extreme of us. It is not only politically problematic, as we just saw, because none of this stuff helped the other day. Without a doubt, it's a problem. But we need to take stock of why we are being held hostage to the far left. No one should be and wants to be kowtowing to the extremes of their own parties.
That was Felipe Reines, longtime Democratic consultant who has lost 3 different presidential campaigns. So how has the Democratic Party been held hostage by the left? Take a look.
The majority of Democrats don't agree with the things that we are being tagged with. Now, how that
Tick
works
through a couple of those things.
I think Democrats believe in common sense stuff more than you'd realize. I mean, it's not like any of us sit at home and don't talk to anyone. Most Democrats I know think there's a huge problem at the border. Most Democrats.
By the way, we've talked about this guy. We've talked about this clip. This guy is an absolute ghoul and is just trying to save his own ass following the election.
Democrats I know think, frankly, that
also, he's a Democratic strategist. Most of the people he knows are not indicative of the general vibe of the country.
At birth shouldn't play in women's sports and vice versa. Now, you can have a healthy conversation within a party, and you have to have a room within a party for all this. But at the end of the day, if you have some of these issues that are 80-20 across the country, you really got to figure out why they're being so tagged with one. And on one hand, it's easy because it's politically sexy. There's a reason why $40 million in ads on this topic were thrown at the vice president.
But that's not all. He went on to add Medicare for all as an issue that's holding the Democrats hostage, and took a swipe at Bernie Sanders. Take a look.
It's like Medicare for all is not something that the bulk of the Democratic Party believes in, but yet we spend tons of time on it. Now, on immigration, there are people who do believe, and I think I buy into it, that part of the problem we've had as Democrats is that we have gotten pulled to the left so far that we can't make common sense decisions. And look, I worked for Hillary, and she had to contend with Bernie. Bernie, went after Biden. I shouldn't say went after. He entered the primary.
God, I wish, by the way, can I just say I wish that the Democratic Party was being held hostage by the far left? I wish that were true. That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing. If that were true, we'd get so many more far left policies through.
There's no evidence that the Bernie Sanders wing of the Democratic Party has met with any success or represents this party. Yet, we're going to go ahead and we're going to continue.
By the way, the Bernie Sanders wing of this party did well with every single demographic that Kamala Harris struggled with. Just throwing that out there. Working class voters, Black and Latino voters, he did very well with those voters. It's because he had a working class message that was applicable across demographic lines.
Every time someone on the hard left says, "Oh, you can't do that," we're all gonna paralyze.
So what do Democratic voters actually think? We pulled the data. On immigration, 59% of Democrats and 64% of independents support the bipartisan immigration bill that passed in the Senate before Trump schemed with House Republicans to kill it. You can see that data there. Okay, so what about the next topic? How about trans rights? 80% of Democrats and 46% of independents would support a candidate who supports trans rights.
Also, like, yeah, your job as the Democratic Party is to push forward in these ways. If it's not popular, you have to adopt messaging that makes it popular. You are the one driving the messaging of your own campaign. Embrace it. Embrace your position. Stand strong with it. People respect strength in politics, okay? If you are like a voter who's on the fence, if you look at a milquetoast politician and a politician that is speaking from a point of conviction, or that the conviction comes across as strength to someone who doesn't know anything about politics. If you're just kind of a milquetoast, like, well, frankly, neoliberal or milquetoast liberal individual, when you're hemming and hawing about means testing bullshit, you know, well, that doesn't come across as very strong. What comes across as strong is a message like, hey, we are going to cut all of your taxes and we're going to make our national enemy pay for it. That comes across as strong to voters. But you know what else comes across as strong to voters? Hey, we're going to give you, your mom, your kids, every single person you know and love, we're going to give them health care and make sure that they don't go into bankruptcy. That comes across as a strong message. We are going to raise your wages. That comes across as a strong message, especially if you have like a policy name to attach to it. Like we are going to surpass the fight for 15. We are going for the fight for 20. You know, like that feels like a point of strength. And that's the thing. Exactly. I'm just me. Did they think people didn't think Dr. King was too far left? Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. died the most hated man in America when he was assassinated. And like, yeah, your job is to make those more progressive positions popular. That's your job as like a progressive. And, you know, if you're not into that, that's and you're a Democrat, I guess that's fine, but I don't think you're suited for our current political times. You know, capitulating to the right is only capitulation. It just moves the conversation further and further right. Excuse me for the sneeze.
The support does decline when you ask voters about trans women in women's sports. Just 26% of U.S. adults think trans athletes should play on teams that match their identity.
And you can very clearly see how this is the result of a sustained propaganda effort and sustained Republican efforts to make it less popular. No one has a built-in assumption about like trans people in sports. That's not like an inherent thing that people have. They've been taught that for years. And that indoctrination yields a shift. But again, I want to point something out here. Republicans made it their job to make these positions popular, to decrease the level of support for trans people in sports. They made it their mission to do that, and they have spent an ungodly amount of money to that end. Okay? Also, Brutus Magnuson, thank you for the $5 super chat. A lot of people love Trump and Sanders at the same time, especially Rogan Bros. That tells you all you need to know about messaging / appealing. Yeah. And, like, the other part here is that if you are making these positions... I mean, let me put it this way. Republicans have made it their entire job to make these positions more or less popular. Democrats need to commit to that same level of like moving the needle. It's just that, frankly, a lot of them are too scared of pissing off their big dollar donors. And like, well, that's a decision that they're making, but I think it renders them unfit for the current time we live in. They have failed to rise to the political occasion.
What about Medicare for all? 72% of Democrats and 46% of independents support a universal government-run system. You can see that data there. So the question is, do any of these issues affect how voters behave in the ballot box. According to a Gallup poll in late September, the top issue for voters was, unsurprisingly, the economy. Only 10% of voters said it was either somewhat or not important, with everyone else saying it was either extremely important or very important. Immigration on this list of priorities ranked 5th, with 72% of voters saying it was either extremely or very important. Healthcare ranked 7th at 37% extremely important and 42% very important. And all the way at the very bottom, ranked 22nd of the 22 issues surveyed, transgender rights, with just 25% saying it was somewhat important and 36% said it was not important. So I guess Cenk and Jules, we're going to have a little bit of a debate here. There are a lot of people, a lot of pundits, a lot of Democratic officials.
Okay, side note, totally unrelated to anything being said here, but I really dig this guy's shirt. I think it's cool.
Saying, this is why she lost. That's why she lost.
A quality
You should have done
floral.
this differently. You should have done that differently. Okay, everyone's going to have a different opinion, of course. But for what Felipe Reigns is saying here, that the Democrats are held hostage by the left and on issues of immigration and trans rights, that's why she lost. And there's nothing that they can do about it unless they kind of purge these people from the base.
Who is this
Do you
guy? I
agree
think
with
this
him?
is Jordan Uhl.
Am I misinterpreting it? I'm curious what you both think.
Yeah.
I believe this is Jordan Uhl. I think he's he's a contributor to TYT. He seems to be like a really good egg. I like him a lot. I don't know who this guy is. And this is Cenk Uygur in the middle.
So I've got a definitive yes and no. So first, I do think the leftists that he's talking about are hurting the Democratic Party. That's what we're gonna, at a minimum, do, because I know Jordan disagrees.
Let me put it this way. I think Cenk has this opinion because he's on Twitter 24/7. I think he's just so in the shit on Twitter that like it has skewed his perception.
But the first thing that we have to do is clarify the parts where we all agree
Jordan
he's
Uhl,
wrong.
my bad.
Okay, so there are, in my opinion, three wings of the Democratic Party at this point. There's what I call the 2016 Bernie wing, which is economic.
To be clear, I do follow Jordan Uhl on Blue Sky and Twitter and stuff. I do follow him on that, but his avatar is Skeletor, so I have no idea. I had no idea what he looked like.
Populist, Medicare for all, paid family leave, $15 minimum wage, etc. I think all three of us are in that camp. Okay, then there is the 2020 Kamala, where you take Bernie's economic populism, and what she did was, because she was floating in the wind and she saw the leftists that were ascended, she thought at the time, so going defund the police, trans people getting surgery if they're undocumented immigrants, all of the.
That's fucking crazy, man. The only people talking about trans people getting surgery if they're undocumented immigrants are conservative nut jobs. It's literally the only people talking about that.
Those positions that I view to be extreme, okay? And I think clearly the voters view to be extreme. So Kamala 2020.
Also, it's not extreme for like undocumented immigrants to get like surgery. Like, is it extreme to provide health care to people who are injured when they show up at the hospital? Is that an extreme take? Is it an extreme take to say that prisoners should have access to health care in prison? No. So why on earth would it be different for undocumented immigrants? If you want the universal health care system, how on earth, like that doesn't, that includes undocumented immigrants. Like, what are you saying, Cenk? You support a system where like undocumented immigrants are like left to like die on like in the waiting room, like what, when they show up at the hospital? No, I clearly not. But that's the kind of system you're apparently imagining when you say it's ridiculous for, you know, for undocumented immigrants to have trans surgeries. The idea that trans surgeries are like an optional thing is one that's kind of rooted in like bigotry. Like the people in the trans community who need surgeries, they need those surgeries. They're not like optional things, they're medical necessities. And granted, some trans people, they don't need bottom surgery, or they don't want bottom surgery, or, you know, like each trans person is different. But like, if someone needs that bottom surgery, they need it for a medically compelling reason. It's not just like, oh, well, I'm gonna get a Brazilian butt lift. Like, no, that they're not doing that in prison. Come on. Just to reframe his statement here, he's trying to make it seem like the logical and good argument here for liberals is, yeah, we should deny undocumented immigrants health care, which is insane.
Hurts the party, in my opinion. And then there's the third wing of the party, which is the major wing, unfortunately, that we all disagree with here on this panel, which is Hillary 2016.
Yeah, it is sick, Dragonfly.
And in a lot of ways, Kamala 2024, where they come back to the corporate positions and they go, not only do I not agree with you on some of these trans issues, but screw Medicare for all, screw helping the average American, I'm going back to my corporate donors. And that's a disaster. And can we all stipulate that that is the number one reason that they lost? Because they served their donors and not their voters?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, Jules, do you
To an
agree with
extent, yeah. I mean, I agree to an extent. I think the issue might be on my end a lot simpler, which is, you know, when I hear Reigns talk like this, and, you know, he's this front-running member of the DNC, he's reflecting this fact that Democrats have emphatically proven that they cannot be the solution to the problems that we have, because their primary goal is shutting down socialist or progressive movements, not taxing billionaires, not providing health care, not helping children. You see this time and time again, how much more time they spend blaming the left for their failures, because they're not addressing the key problems that we're running into. And I think that's the biggest reason Kamala lost. I think, you know, sweeping, getting popular vote, like electoral college, House, Senate, I think sweeping proves that this is the death of neoliberalism, not like, oh,
This is an accurate take. I don't know who this guy is, but he is correct. Wait, maybe the more information. Oh, does it say who's in the clip? It doesn't say. Okay, cool. Thanks. Wait, does it not? No. Oh wait, Jules Sudaltsev. I'm really sorry, Jules. Okay, cool.
The left is going too far again. Like I call this a Christo-fascist era. Things are not going back to the way that they were, correct. And this is their fault. So listening to this honestly pisses me off that, like, oh cool, we're getting blamed for the problems that they caused.
Yeah, again, I think we totally agree on that. So, and the reason that they blame the left instead of actually delivering for the voters is because the left actually challenges their power. They could lose their party within the party, and then they got nothing, right? If they lose primaries, they're toast. So whereas if they lose a general election, who cares? They just come back and do it again, raise more money, keep more of it, etc. So I think that, Jules, what you're saying is something very similar to what I'm saying.
Okay.
The number.
I rarely do this, but I am going to do it this time. I'm speeding it up slightly because we're on a time crunch.
Number one issue is that they're serving their corporate donors and never delivering for the voters, and they want to distract you from that. So every time they lose, and no leftist lost, every time they lose, they blame the left. So we all agree on that. So let's get to the part we disagree on. So in my opinion, the GOP does this every single time. I've literally covered it for for a quarter of a century. Feel bad saying that, but I have for straight. And what they do is they go further and further and further until they find the most extreme positions that the left is willing to defend. And then they go, aha, that's what the whole left is. And every time they do that, they'll find some leftists who'll go, I'll fall right into that trap. And I feel like screaming, Admiral Akbar, it's a trap. It's a trap. So one of the things that Jordan just read you is so indicative. What have I been telling you guys? We fight for trans rights. They have complete equality. They get, whether it's, health care.
We fight for trans rights, complete equality with health care. Unless they're in prison and they're a certain type of person, I guess. in Cenk's world.
Employment, constitutional rights, you name it. And the American people are on our side and the Democratic Party's on our side, and Jordan just showed that to you.
Welcome, Raiders.
80% of Democrats agree with that, 52% of all Americans agree with that, even despite all of this overwhelming propaganda against the trans community. But the minute you get the trans people playing in, trans women playing in women's sports, it falls off a cliff. And all of a sudden you're down to 26%, let alone undocumented trans immigrants getting taxpayer-funded surgery. My guess is that polls around 2%.
Yeah, but also, like, voters voted to keep, like, prison slave labor in California. Like, does that make that right? No. No, it doesn't. You have to be willing to push back on that. You have to be willing to be bold. Being bold isn't going with where most voters agree. Being bold is pushing beyond that. Like, again, Martin Luther King Jr. died the most hated man in America while advocating for an explicitly socialist revolution for the American economy. Okay? Like, that's where we need people to be. Like, you need to push beyond what most voters are comfortable with, because in the act of pushing, that's how you make people more comfortable with more progressive positions. Progress requires the pushing. And Cenk here is just coming out against pushing against conservative ideology. What a capitulation, man.
It's not an accident that the Trump team, once they started running that ad, saw great polling out of that ad and ran it again and again and again. And
yeah, the Green New Deal didn't come out of nowhere. Not the Green New Deal, sorry. The New Deal didn't come out of nowhere. It came out of a sustained and concerted socialist movement among the working class in America. And in a way, the New Deal defeated socialist revolution in America by essentially adopting enough social, like, safety nets to put the socialist movement asleep for a century. But, like, if you're going to start dismantling that, well, then it gives rise to a new socialist movement. Like, that's kind of how it goes. But Jack, pushing against them is big mean to their feelings. It's true. But facts over feelings, am I right?
And then it was their #1 ad, and they'd run it for $40 million worth. So are you guys saying that ad didn't hurt and that we should keep going?
Yeah, the ad hurt, but it hurt extraordinarily more because Kamala Harris had no opinion on any trans person during her campaign. Like, she didn't say the word transgender during her campaign once. And if you have no pushback against their insane, like, ramblings, well, then, you know what? That narrative starts taking hold in the Republican base, in the working class base, where they're running those ads. The vacuum makes those ads effective.
Going in that direction?
I don't know. It's going to be hard to quantify what effect it had, but based on not just that one Gallup poll, but exit polls, other public opinion polls of what people's priorities were, we saw for months in the run-up and in the immediate aftermath, voters were largely motivated by the economy, economic policy, and their material conditions. So I think it might have changed the perception.
This is the thing, right? Like, people point to the culture war issues, but, like, you have to understand, from a Republican strategist position, the culture war issues are just the shiny dangly keys to distract people. They're just there to distract people from Googling what a tariff
I'd die
is.
laughing if Nancy Mace's actions cause people to drop their pants around her with the cry hashtag Nancy wants to see your junk.
I still think that the best course of action with Nancy Mace would be people leaving their piss and shit in protest around her office. That's my personal opinion, not a fact, not legal advice. Thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs, Saka Tanuki.
But I don't think it was what motivated people to either stay home or vote against Harris or vote for Trump. You look at where it ranked on that list. I mean, there was 22 different topics on there, and it was dead last. So
why did they run it the most, Jordan? Why did it work the best?
I don't even think
because, again, if people are talking about trans kids in sports, they're not going to be talking about, like, what the hell a tariff is. They're not going to be talking about, like, any like hey, wait a minute, maybe tariffs don't actually help the economy. They're not going to ask questions. And if Kamala Harris doesn't have a compelling economic narrative that matches that, which she didn't, well, then what those working class voters get is, well, this guy says he's going to, cut all my taxes and then make China pay for it. And also the Dems are doing this weird like trans kid and sports stuff, and that's weird, and I don't like that. And and then they go off on like a 10-minute tangent because people are more familiar with high school sports than they are with what economic policies are. Kamala Harris may have had 100 pages of like liberal economic reforms, but like at the end of the day, it doesn't really translate to much. And even if you're going, well, I'm going to give you a $6,000 tax credit the first year you have a child. Well, okay, but what if you already have like 3 kids? That tax credit doesn't really help you. What if you're elderly? That tax credit doesn't really help you. What if you're young and don't have kids yet? That tax credit doesn't really help you. You can't run an entire campaign off of that. What you need is broad populist economic things to run on. Like, hey, I'm doing a $20 minimum wage. Or, hey, I'm going to do universal health care. Or, hey, I'm going to use $900 million of the billions of dollars I've raised for my campaign to buy all medical debt in America and summarily rip it up as my last campaign act. Can you imagine if Kamala Harris had done that? People would fucking turn out to vote. Because that sends a message of goddamn strength. And it simultaneously frees up a sizable portion of America from $220 billion of debt. Okay? You can buy all of that for $900 million.
It worked the best because I was just in Arizona and Nevada multiple times over the past couple months, and I saw the ad of her on The View saying there was nothing different that she would do than what Biden did. I saw that way more.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the thing, right? Jordan's correct here. Like, when she doesn't distance herself from the Biden campaign at all, and people are talking about, the Biden economy is so good. Guys, lowering the unemployment rate means nothing to a working class person in a rural town, or frankly, even in a city. It means very, very little. Oh, great. You finally got like more people working at Jamba Juice. Wow, that's enough for them to still have to work out of their car. But that counts as lowering unemployment. Like, you can have numbers that look decent on a graph that don't translate into like the lived experience of working class people. And when Biden failed to get a $15 minimum wage passed, that tangibly affected people. That failure like resonates throughout all working class communities, because guess what? Those working class communities, they're making only slightly more than minimum wage. Only slightly more. And that's, that slightly more, that pads out those numbers, makes that economy look even better. Look at how many people aren't earning minimum wage because they earned like a 2-cent raise.
Than the trans ad. And then within that, they just conflated the Biden administration, the 4 years of Biden, with Kamala Harris. And they said, we can't afford 4 more years of Kamala Harris.
But that was not their number one ad. Their number one ad was a trans ad. And because it was just polling through the roof.
It's also a messaging thing. And here's the thing. The Harris campaign did not have their hands tied. They had 3 times the money. They had $1 billion. They had an ad budget of $700 million. They spent $40 million on that ad. Get out and spend 80. Spend 120 on
defending your most unpopular position.
No, you need a simple message on that, and you shouldn't throw trans people under the bus. You don't just abandon something because it's.
But that's not throwing trans people under the bus.
Yes, it is.
Wait, an undocumented immigrant comes into the country and says, "I demand knee surgery."
That's not her policy.
But brother, I didn't.
Wait, but that's not how undocumented immigrants work. Like, undocumented immigrants don't come into the country and go, "Ha! Now you have to treat my condition." Like, what are you talking about, bro?
You just got here. What are you demanding surgery from me for?
That's such an outlier. It's not even her policy. It wasn't in her platform.
Except it was her policy.
4 years ago, she mentioned it at an event. It wasn't in part of her platform.
But it was her policy in 2020. Yeah, and Trump's policy in 2020 was literally an attack on the Capitol. Okay, but we're not talking about the 2020 election. We're talking about this one.
Platform.
All right, so let's go to Jules.
Well, Jake, I think what you're doing, and
Also, can I just point out, average voters don't give a single fuck about primaries. The vast majority of people who vote in the general election, and that's it. Most voters don't turn out for midterms. Most voters do not turn out for primaries. And most normal people who aren't politically brain poisoned, like all of you, God forgive me, most people have no idea what people were saying in the primary 4 years ago. And frankly, most normal people have no idea what was said in the primary this time around. You know, like, I doubt most Republican voters have any idea what Ron DeSantis was talking about, or could tell you what Ron DeSantis was talking about. That's just kind of how it be.
I love you, but I think you're falling for a massive trap that Republicans never fall for, which is, like you said, they set up this domino of like this tiny issue that, you know, rounds down to zero and say this is the biggest issue of the election. And like Democrats, not like leftists, but Democrats will jump in and say like, well, actually, you know, here's the stats about this. So actually, like, you know, we don't agree with let's say, like, you know, trans women in sports. But that's not what, like, when Republicans do heinous stuff, the Republicans just say, yeah, who cares? We're not even going to talk about it. Democrats insist on having the conversation about stuff that essentially doesn't happen or happens in such a small way as to be useless or ineffective to the larger story. And Democrats will jump onto it in an effort to demonize leftists and secure their own position. And that's really frustrating. Like, it's crazy to me that trans women in sports is a massive issue when, again, the percentage of people that this affects.
Honestly, the correct position to take is like, we have better things to do than to worry about like children's sports. We're national level lawmakers, you know, like, let them play sports. We have bigger fish to fry.
Literally rounds down to zero, where stuff that actually matters and stuff that Republicans are doing is hand waved away with nothing, and it doesn't become part of the conversation. Nobody says, hey, we should talk about that.
You guys are not addressing what I'm saying. So when I go on right-wing shows, I tell them, look, I'm for 100% equality and justice. That's the most American thing you could be. Trans people should have all the rights that anybody,
unless they're undocumented, apparently,
else has. And guys, this affects about 7 people in the country. You're trying to pretend that this is the most important issue. This is the least important.
Then why are you spending breath talking about it? You're the one spending time talking about it.
Issue, the smallest issue there is, and you know you're doing it to drive a wedge between us. And in fact, Dan Holloway, who bless his heart on Drinking Bros, a right-winger, was like, you're right. That's why they call it a wedge issue, because it's supposed to drive a wedge between us. That's the right way to handle it. And so I think we all agree on that. But then you guys are saying, no, dig in when they find the most unpopular position and defend it until you lose. Why? Why would you defend a position that is...
You defend it until you win, Cenk. That's what progress is. Like, I don't know. Maybe a good example would be would be the sit-in campaign of the civil rights era. Deeply unpopular, but over time it won people over. But it was not a popular thing. It's why police put dogs in hoses and like beat black people bloody. And their supporters, like, and brought them to prison. Like, when Martin Luther King Jr. is penning Letter from a Birmingham Jail, he's talking about the constant effort to capitulate to conservative values, rather than the necessary bravery to push forward.
Deeply, deeply unpopular.
No one's saying dig in, but don't abandon members of your community. It's the right thing to do to stand up.
But who's abandoning them?
But okay, yeah, this is actually the correct take. I do think you should dig in if needed, but an even better thing is to redirect the conversation and keep your forward momentum.
Harris did.
How?
The last couple weeks of the campaign, she distanced herself from trans issues, from trans rights, because...
But what?
Frankly, I don't think she even talked about trans people during her campaign prior to the last few weeks.
Trans rights, Jordan, which trans rights? They do not have the right to demand free surgery when they come here as undocumented immigrants.
Who's doing that?
That was literally Kamala Harris's position in 2020.
It was a hypothetical. It was a hypothetical.
But no,
But who's doing it? Is it happening at scale?
It's not even hypothetical.
How much money are we actually spending
Jordan,
on that?
it was actually policy under Trump, too. It's not a hypothetical. It was policy. And
Yeah, because I guess, again, we're talking about redirecting conversations here. The way to redirect this conversation is that, yes, people in custody deserve healthcare. People in prison deserve healthcare. People being held by the U.S. government deserve healthcare. Full stop.
Trump even continued it. You could have fought back that way, but guys, and even if Kamala Harris did or did not defend it, you guys are defending it. It's the leftists who are saying, this is the hill we're going to die on. Well, that's really ridiculous.
No, we're saying it didn't cost
like
her
we're
the
being
election.
dragged onto that hill.
He's saying that
Then
cost
they
her the
asked,
election.
look, guys, here's how the progression goes. So they go, okay, we hate gay people. Oh, that didn't work. But back in 2004, they go, okay, well, we hate.
Wait a minute. It absolutely worked to say I hate gay people, like, in the 1990s. My partner literally had people pull up to her gay prom and stone her and the other gay kids. And they didn't get chased off by police either. Okay? Like, that was a thing that happened in the 90s. And yeah, you had to fight for it not to work. Cenk has been covering this for a long time. He should know.
Gay marriage.
Oh God, default X. I'm sorry to hear that. My gay uncle got jumped by police in the 90s. Jesus.
Oh, that did work. Okay. Now, at the time, I go, wait, are we talking about constitutional rights? Are we talking about fundamental human rights? Okay, I know it's not a winning issue for us, but I'm going to fight on that, and I believe in gay marriage.
Gay marriage was not a popular issue until, like, 2012? Maybe? Like, the example he's going with here is insane to me.
But I could make an effective case for it. I could convince people of it, and we did. We fought and fought and fought, and we convinced people.
Yeah, you had to fucking fight. That's the point. You have to fight for it. God damn.
Right? So then they go, nowadays, they come back and they go, okay, well, attacking gay people is not working anymore. So let's attack trans people. It's so transparent what they're doing. And by the way, I would love for a Democratic politician to say what I'm saying now. Do you see how they're trying to drive hate towards trans people? Okay, so they attack the core of their rights. It doesn't work. Then if you remember in the beginning, Trump said they shouldn't be in the military. And that didn't work. And we're defending because that is core rights, right? Willing to die for our country? Are you kidding me? Of course we defend. They're weirdos that attack people in bathrooms. No, that's mainly straight guys, let's be honest, okay? So we defend and it doesn't work. Then they get to, they should be able to play in the WNBA and Olympics, etc. And I go, well, I think that's up to the WNBA and that's up to the Olympics, and I'm not sure that I agree with that. And let alone the fact that I know that's a super unpopular position, and it is not a core right to play in the WNBA. It just isn't. But
oh man, Cenk, you're such a warrior for trans rights. Hey, did you know that it wasn't a core right for black baseball players to play baseball against white baseball players? I wonder if that had any significance in history. Weird.
Every other leftist goes, nope, Cenk, you're a fascist, and you're agreeing with the right wing. We love this issue, and of course they should. We're going to defend this 200%. And then we got smeared. So you guys made a giant mistake.
What's wrong with this guy? A complete lack of insight and critical thinking, I guess.
Love how no one has to address his co-host's rhetoric in this discussion. You do not approach a TYT host that way.
God. I mean, yeah. Wild stuff from Cenk here. Thank you for the 5 gifted tier 1 subs.
No.
I think most leftists want to talk about the economy. I think most leftists want to talk about workers' rights and free healthcare and affordable housing. But there are these fringe issues that are brought to the forefront by Democrats who want to say what you're saying in order to distract from those issues because they can't defend those issues. They can take this like little wedge issue and say like, well,
man, it'd be really great if they had a trans person on for this segment.
Don't agree with trans women in sports. We don't agree with, and if you defend it, then you're being crazy. But not to do an impression of you, Cenk. But there is this lack of conversation about the things that Democrats are not doing. And I genuinely think that even having these conversations to this degree, instead of hand waving them away as being like, you know what, these are fringe issues, we can deal with them as fringe issues and not as the main issue of the campaign. I think that is something that
So, Jules, let me agree with you, but then challenge you. The part I'm agreeing with you on is when Philip Rain says, oh, trans, undocumented, again, not just trans rights, but trans undocumented immigrants asking for taxpayer-funded surgery, and then he goes, same thing as Medicare for all. No, not the same thing. Medicare for all polls at 72%. And yes, these corporate Democrats.
Yeah, but Cenk should know that how you brand it matters, right? When you call it Medicare for all, well, people like that. Polls at 72%. When you call it socialized medicine, a lot of people in America hate that because socialism. And like support for it drops off like the face of the earth. In a similar way, when you call something, you know, an undocumented immigrant getting trans surgeries on taxpayer dime versus like support for that also seems to fall off a cliff. But when you phrase it as should prisoners get health care, people are like, oh yeah, of course. The framing matters. And the fact that he's bringing up a very specific example that like makes it pretty apparent how full of shit he is on this. I don't know. It's the right word turn is very blatant to me.
Are trying to distract you from that. We all agree to that. But the Democrats didn't bring up that issue. The Republicans, the right wing, brought up that issue. So, but when I say, hey, guys, let's get past this issue, this is not a winning issue, and I don't even agree, then all of the leftists online said, no, we love this issue. We're going to fight on this issue.
Have the mic.
What?
Democrats have the mic. Democrats are the ones who respond to these issues. Like DNC Democrats are the ones who leftists don't have a mic. Leftists
no, you're wrong.
Also really missing the point of the attacks from the GOP. It's not about sports or bathrooms. It's all to scapegoat and make it unacceptable to be out and existing in public.
True. I mean, it is, I would say the primary reason is to scapegoat, but also like these people genuinely hate trans folk and want us gone. And this is a way to facilitate that.
Giant. I mean, in that segment alone, they didn't say that for no reason, and I know I lived it. They said a couple of times, they're like, I'm afraid to say this because of what's going to happen on Twitter. I'm afraid to say this. Because are you saying that people leftists don't attack others on Twitter for the slightest?
Maybe have a fucking spine about it? Like, I don't know. Maybe have balls?
Disagreement?
Oh, absolutely. But the point is that, we're talking about being online. Exactly. We're talking about, normie voters, people.
Yeah, he's Twitter brain poisoned.
Who aren't chronically online like we are. And so, these topics make their way to the mainstream because Democrats will do exactly that. They'll say, we're being attacked for defending this issue when you don't have to defend the issue at all. You can, I'm again saying, you can hand wave it away and talk about things that really matter.
Jules, that's not what the leftists did. You're saying the exact opposite of what they did. They didn't wave it away.
What leftists? Why are you talking about leftists like they're a monolith that have coordinated specifically to wrong you, Cenk?
They said,
I'm saying that's what the people with the mic, the people who normie voters listen to, didn't do that. They started talking about, oh, we're being attacked by the left for having a reasonable position. So why are you talking about it at all? Why don't you talk about it within the fringe context that it exists and where it rounds down to zero? There are decisions to be made. We do have to support trans rights, but doing it through this narrow venue is crazy. And that's how it looks to voters. It looks like the entire Democratic Party represents this fringe issue that mainstream Democrats want to defend against.
Jules, you're now saying
most people aren't online like that.
You're now saying that you agree with the position that I had, which is wave it away. This is not the hill to fight on. And when I said that, the entire leftist ecosystem.
It's not the hill to fight on, but like redirecting the conversation and just saying, yeah, trans undocumented immigrants shouldn't get healthcare. That's not redirecting the conversation. That's ceding the point. Like there's a difference between that.
Collapsed in on itself. How dare you? We fight on this issue. Well, how did it turn out for us? And look, Jordan, I stipulated in the beginning, we all agree. She lost the issue because she loves her corporate donors. She's talked about how I have 90 corporate CEOs who agree with me. Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney and agrees with me. And that's what cost her the election.
Look, guys, clearly what's happening here is that on Inauguration Day, Donald Trump is going to step aside and bring Cenk onto the podium. And surprise, you secretly elected him. You see, Cenk Uygur secretly changed his name to Donald J. Trump. It's called the presidential switcheroo maneuver. It's very rare.
But it was not a small issue that the #1 ad that they ran was on this, and the polling indicated that this was the one that worked the best. And there's other things, guys. We said there was real crime. Every leftist screamed, there's no crime, it's in your imagination. Well, and they claim to represent Democratic voters. Then here in California, we had Prop 36, anti-crime bill. In California, not Alabama. In California, it passed with 70% of the vote. I told you that Democrats.
Yeah, I wonder if people knew what they were voting on. Like, I'm not privy to California politics, but I would be very curious to know what sort of messaging went out around that led to that that being taken up in such numbers. Like, I'm wondering, and I'm not sure, but I'm wondering if it's the kind of ballot initiative where if you don't vote on it, it's tallied as a no. Like, when we're talking about ballot initiatives, like and propositions and stuff like that, wording of it is very important, but also so is education prior to voting, and so is how the voting is tallied. I don't know any of those things, but those are all very important to know, and it seems a little weird to me that 70% of Californians would deliberately vote to keep incarcerated criminals like doing unpaid labor.
Democratic voters do not agree with extreme leftists. They care about crime, and they don't want to pay for these surgeries, et cetera, et cetera. The polling shows I'm true. The elections show I'm overwhelmingly correct, but I guarantee you the reaction to this debate by every leftist online will be, how dare he? He's a monster.
I mean, I don't think he's a monster. I just think he's kind of stupid and hasn't really thought this through. And
it's all his fault.
Oh, and may or may not be, well, I think he's just not really thinking his position through, and maybe poorly communicating along the way.
And oh my God, we should double down and quadruple down, and we should, there is no crime. He's helping their framing. Well, okay, 70%. The Democratic voters are definitively on my side, both on economic populism like Medicare for all, and on these social issues. We're not saying abandon trans people. We're not saying lock up people that didn't do anything wrong or that smoked a joint. We're saying nobody said to take domestic assault and turn it into a misdemeanor. What the hell are you defending that for? Are you nuts? That's an injustice. And Democratic voters don't want it, let alone Republican voters. So you guys can keep emphasizing. I'm not the one emphasizing, I'm the one saying get past it. And every left-wing show online is like, don't get past it, don't get past it. Talk about this for months and months and months until we lose every goddamn election.
I don't think it's like a totally fair characterization of how people are responding to that topic or how they should engage with it. I think what's important is the context with what he was talking about was that she lost because of the extreme left and those three issues that he laid out, which is not true. This guy has worked on 2 campaigns that ran against Trump. He lost both of them. He certainly knows losing, but he does not know how to win. And when you think about what motivates him to say it, it's much easier to scapegoat progressives and the left. And as he threw in later in a jab at Bernie Sanders, Senator Sanders, and like maybe
Cool. You know, having my setup over here, I can't see chat. Damn. All right. Anyway, I'm gonna start that part over. I'm going to start this part over. So this is California voters reject a measure that would have banned forced prison labor. There's a lot of really good and interesting info in here. And essentially, bottom lining it for you, the people who have spearheaded this like activist movement for Proposition 6 in California, which would have ended forced prison labor, they consider what they achieved in California a pretty big success. And it's also worth noting here that, yeah, multiple states, including Colorado, Tennessee, Alabama, and Vermont, have voted to rid their constitutions of forced labor exemptions in recent years. And this week they were joined by Nevada, which passed its own measure. And I just want to say, like, it seems pretty wild to me that Cenk is making this argument when fucking Tennessee was able to do it. Tennessee was able to do it. Nevada just did it. Seems like it's actually a pretty good and popular thing to do. I think we can also do it in California. And, you know, there's an interview in here as well, just a short one. Yeah. George Eilis, a retired teacher in Bree who voted against Prop 6, said he found it confusing that the initiative aimed to ban slavery, which was outlawed in the U.S. in the 19th century. After finding out more about the measure, Eilis said it likely would not be economically feasible since prison labor cuts costs for upkeep, he said. I really couldn't get any in-depth information about the thinking behind putting that whole Prop 6 forward, so that made me leery of it. If I can't really understand something, then I'm usually going to shake my head no. So honestly, like, I mean, if that's indicative of the position, and granted it's one guy, but like, if that's at all indicative... Oh, wait, here we go. Proposition 6 saw the second least campaign spending among the 10 statewide initiatives on the ballot this year. Oh, okay, so it was also not funded, so there wasn't education on it.
Come in, Jack. Jack.
Comrade Girl, thank you for the $10 super chat. Okay, yeah, so basically Cenk is speaking here from a position of not knowing what the hell he's talking about and attributing the lack of popularity of Prop 6 to, like, just general voter maliciousness, which is a mistake. Most voters just had no idea what Prop 6 was and didn't know what was at stake, and so they voted against it. And that's no surprise considering California is a colossal state and Prop 6 only had less than $2 million of funding to get the word out about what it is. You know how arguments for or against get published in voter guides? The voter guide had 0 arguments against Prop 6. Yeah. But a lot of people don't read those voter guides.
Maybe progressives in the squad, it's easier for him to scapegoat those policies, those people, that voting bloc,
Gilda,
rather than look inward. Because to do that, he would find fault with himself, find fault with the donor class, and ultimately it would shake up and change the paradigm of how people within the party view the party. They're unwilling to do that because they're beholden to corporate interests. On that, we agree. But the thing is, ultimately, at the end of the day, you stand up for these things because it's the right thing to do, not because they're popular. And like you gained ground on marriage equality and gay rights, it might be a similar and long fight, but you shouldn't abandon it or throw them away or throw them under the bus like Harris did simply because it's politically expedient now.
Okay, so you're okay with losing the election because you want to fight for those issues. I mean, you just said it.
You already lost. That's
Okay,
not what
all
I
right.
showed you the data.
Oh my god. The immediate, we already lost. Like, we tried it your way, Cenk. We tried it your way. Your way is the loser strategy. That's what this election season showed. Like, your Cenk's milquetoast, pro-capitalism, liberal bullshit lost this election. And he's having a devil of a time trying to, like, reconcile with that.
No one cares. No one cares. It's the last ranking issue.
You're delusional.
The
$40 million in ads.
The economy was the #1 issue for people. No one's going in there and be like, I'm mad about trans people, so I'm going to vote for Trump. No one did that.
You're 100% wrong.
The economy, every poll, every exit poll said it was the economy.
Okay, at the very end of that ad, which worked spectacularly, you guys are denying
the ad shifted opinion. That's true. But did people vote based on that ad, or did people vote based on how they feel the economy is going? And again, I'm just throwing it out there. When the main economic proposition is that guy's going to cut my taxes and make other people pay for it, and, under this Biden guy, my wages have barely gone up while everything else has gotten a lot more expensive, and the person running this Kamala Harris person, who I don't know much about her, but like she's saying she's going to be just like Biden, and I haven't really heard anything that would help me and mine deal with these high prices. That's the compelling narrative here. Like, for most working class people, and I think that this is one of the under talked about parts of this entire election cycle, this was one of the first elections in modern history where the Democrats lost the working class. And there's a reason for that, and it's not because working class people just hate trans people. A lot of working class people are trans people. Working class people went to Trump because he had the compelling economic narrative. And what Democrats were offering seemed like nothing. Maybe like a ladle to bail out a sinking ship. Like that's probably what it felt like for a lot of working class folk.
Reality. Every poll
And by the way, it doesn't matter if Trump is lying, because they didn't know that they don't know enough to know that Trump is lying. And even if they think he could be lying, they're willing to roll the dice and see if it improves their circumstances, because they already know what they're getting with Biden. And the numbers on charts might look really good, doesn't feel very good. If you're working class and your wages have been stagnant for 50 years and everything just keeps getting more and more expensive. And even if you saw that 5% bump in wages under Biden, things got 10% more expensive, 20% more expensive sometimes. So rent kept going up, wages didn't. At least not for working class people.
Showed it worked spectacularly.
Yet no one walked out and told a pollster that's why they voted. Not a single person.
Yeah, I'm sure. No, the American people loved it, guys. You were right. Oh my God, they loved it. They want you to run on it again. That's such a genius idea.
That's why Trump won.
Okay, so how many times do I have to tell you that was not the #1 issue? That was but did it help? Did it help? And besides which, I also don't agree with you guys. I don't think paying for undocumented immigrant surgery is somehow some moral, great, amazing thing that we have to fight.
Again, all it would take to stymie him here is reframing it as, I think prisoners should be able to get medical care they need. That's it. A simple reframing of this, like, completely kills his argument. Because then his argument has to be, essentially, well, I think some prisoners deserve health care and some shouldn't get it. And that is an indefensible position in my mind.
Fight for. We have a giant number of issues in America. If they came in and asked for hip replacement surgery, I wouldn't be in favor of it. Why are we dying on a hill? We don't, half of us, not half of us, in terms of Democratic voters, all right, last thing. Can you guys be honest and say most Democratic voters agree with me and not you guys?
Yeah, most Democratic voters agree with me. They want Medicare for all. We just talked about it. We just agree with it.
Jordan, we all agree to that.
That'd be an extension of it. So
that
people,
would be an extension
if you're incarcerated,
yeah, there we go.
Don't get
Jordan's nailing
you don't get
it.
medical coverage. What do you think Medicare for all is? Does it cover gender affirming care? Because in my world, it does.
Okay. God bless you. You run the next election on that.
Oh. So Jordan's position here that he clearly articulated is that gender affirming care is part of Medicare for all. And Cenk just said, in your world, good luck with that. I think that's pretty clear that Cenk does not support healthcare for trans people. I don't know. I think that's pretty conclusive. Maybe he misspoke. But that seems like one hell of a misspeak. And frankly, I doubt he has issued any kind of correction because, you know, TYT is kind of allergic to that, as we've seen with the Venezuelan gangs taking over apartments story that they, you know, helped propagate. Which, by the way, Trump is now threatening to deport all the Venezuelans from Colorado, from Aurora, and the Haitian immigrants are fleeing the area that he called them out in. The Venezuelans are doing the same. Thanks, Cenk.
Rest of the country to know that the great majority of Democratic voters do not believe in those issues. They believe in protecting everyone's constitutional rights, but they don't agree with these fringe issues. And here we are making this.
Well, yeah, no, working class people are the vehicle for bringing down neoliberalism. Yeah. The thing is, like, working class people are most people. Like, if you write off the working class in America, you've written off most Americans. Most people on the planet are working class. So, like, yeah, no.
Same exact mistake where you guys are defending something that is indefensible.
Also, something important to remember about Blair Mountain, Melanie, since you bring it up. The Battle of Blair Mountain came about because a bunch of World War I veterans who worked in unionized mining outfits got together to go support miners who were on a strike, and they were being they were being attacked by company men, essentially. And the miners lost the Battle of Blair Mountain, guys. They lost. The federal troops rolled in, and the miners threw down their weapons, and that was kind of that. You know, a lot of them were World War I vets. They didn't want to fight other soldiers in the U.S. military, and they lost. And union membership went from like 50,000 down to like under 1,000. Like it plummeted. But that in the long run, movements like Blair Mountain led to the pressure on FDR that forced him to accept the New Deal. Like, those kinds of conflicts were bubbling up all over the place. That kind of effort, the number of people fighting for their rights in aggregate wound up winning the day and winning the massive sea change that was the New Deal, which was in fact a compromise between socialism and liberalism. And now we are seeing that compromise be eroded by neoliberalism. You can think of neoliberalism as kind of the rot on that compromise. And yeah. But it's worth noting that Blair Mountain was lost.
Cenk himself is an immigrant, but his family was documented, so to hell with undocumented immigrants, huh? I'll say once again F. Cenk.
Fair. But also, the thing is, those efforts at Blair Mountain weren't in vain. You know, our struggle is never in vain. It might feel like it sometimes, but it never is. The march of history depends on that struggle.
And whether it, like, you're falling back on this simple thing of like, it's not the number one issue, so it didn't hurt. No, that is not a logical connection. It doesn't have to be the number one issue for it to hurt our chances of winning. Besides which, again, I don't agree. I don't agree that more crime is such a great thing, or that crime doesn't exist, or that...
No one's saying crime doesn't exist, but they are saying crime is down. Crime is like back down to like 2019 levels and continuing to go down.
Taking a whole bunch of felonies that were terrible crimes and turning them into misdemeanors is somehow justice. It's not justice. It's the exact opposite. That's why the overwhelming majority of Democratic voters agree with me. But what we do on the Young Turks, guys, and the most important part of this entire conversation is, did we not know this was going to...
Also, most Democrats support trans rights. So I don't know where you're at on this one, Cenk.
...be a debate? We did. That's why we said it in the beginning. but we have these conversations no matter who you agree with. We air out these opinions, and then you get to make up your mind. I love that Jordan and Jules passionately defend their position, and that's how we do it on the Young Turks. We'll be back. Thanks for watching the Young Turks.
No, I'm good. I'm good. We don't need the outro. But I present all of that to you to kind of lay the groundwork for where Cenk has been lately in the political sphere. And I now want to show you two additional things. Okay? Two additional things. And I have to say, I think Cenk is gone. I don't consider him a leftist ally. I frankly, I'm struggling to even conceive of him as a liberal ally. Because this is now where he is. You know, that video went up, let's see, when did that go up? November 8th. So it's been like 2 weeks since then. And 4 days ago, this exchange happened on Twitter. When I became a Democrat, it was the more tolerant party. Republicans were run by religious nutjobs and corporate robots. Now the Democrats are, in a lot of ways, the less tolerant party, which is an insane thing to say after Donald Trump got elected, running off of a platform of deporting millions of Latinos. The least tolerant part is actually the establishment wing of the party that says blah, 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 blah. Which got the attention of one Elon Musk. Yeah. Now, of course, this continued. I asked Elon Musk to put me in charge of cutting the Pentagon. And he said, "What are your suggestions? I run the largest left-wing network online, and a Democratic leader has never asked me that question. The idea that they would take advice from a populist is disdainful to them. Now, which side seems more open and inclusive? Which side seems more welcoming? And which side tries really hard to drive you away if you disagree even a little with orthodoxy? Which side is asking the questions, and which side is demanding compliance and obedience? While the left is yelling at me not to work with MAGA, here's Donald Trump Jr. saying we should limit generals from working for defense contractors. That's a policy we've been pushing for and gotten nowhere with Democrats on. Who cares who does it as long as it gets done?" And like, if you can do that, I guess that'd be good. But keep in mind that these are people that Cenk has basically been saying are fascists. He's been saying that for like 8 years. Hell, he's been saying that since like 2015 when Donald Trump announced his run. And he's sitting here being like, yes, the son of the fascist person who I've been calling a dictator. Well, he's going to listen to me and maybe implement some of my ideas. Are you that naive? Are you that stupid? Do you think they actually are going to listen to you? And if you think that they're going to listen to you, how do you rationalize that their listening to you is just going to be used to legitimize them? Is just going to be used to, maybe get one thing passed to make more palatable all of the things that they are going to destroy. Like, to me, more so even than that debate, which was infuriating to watch, this hits hard. Seeing someone who has always propped himself up as a pillar of strength on the left, kowtowing and groveling to these corporate oligarch fucks is, frankly, a betrayal, I guess. I guess I would consider it a betrayal if I thought that, like, if I hadn't seen more signs of this coming, I guess. But, like, it is like an abdication of everything that TYT is built on, you know? I definitely raised my eyebrows when I found out that apparently Peter Thiel's Poly Market had, like, purchased a huge chunk of the TYT studio. But, like, this is pretty pathetic. And I've made my arguments, so like that's kind of the only final thing I have to say. That this kowtowing, bootlicking son of a bitch. Well, I didn't think he was any of those things, I guess. But I have been known to be wrong. So, yeah. It's the destruction of the network, in my mind. Gonna hit that button. There we go. We did it. And folks, we've been going for 3 hours, 47 minutes. If you've been enjoying the show, hit the follow button on Twitch, hit the subscribe button on YouTube, like the goddamn YouTube stream, and consider dropping those subs and donos. Because that's what helps me to continue doing the show. I couldn't do it without you guys. Can't believe I once gave money to TYT. Yeah, me too. Deeply disappointing stuff. Segi done. Hell yeah. Yeah, Iron Feathers, I'm glad to see you here too. I do have to go and pick up my partner, but this has been really lovely, and it's nice to be back and to do like a show again. This has been our first one back. We'll keep trucking. We'll keep doing what we can do. And again, shout out. Go over to the Discord, riverboat.gg/Discord if you need an invite. Remember to behave yourselves. Know there are a lot more new people joining the Discord, but get on over there. We have some community tools, mutual aid form for skills, in case you have skills that you want to make available to the community. We have an emergency transportation form to help people get out of dangerous red states where they may be targeted for their immigration status or for being trans, predominantly for being trans, frankly. And also, we have some forms for filling out like local location data for places that are safe for LGBTQ people, marginalized folks to hang out in safe blue states. So if you want to contribute your knowledge, your skills, your driving availability, please consider doing those things. And yes, we also watch Morbies in the Discord, so you feel free to join to watch Morbies with the rest of us. Also, hey Gamer G, hope you're doing all right. I gotta get going though, folks. I may be back later tonight. We will see. But this has been a good stream. Let's raid you guys into someone. Ooh, Rhizome is streaming. Jupiter Quake, thank you for the $20 super chat. Heeding the call
Trump
for
will
oil.
likely move forward with his plan to seize the means of production by grabbing us all by the cat. When we are all broodmares of the state, it will fall on Jack and I to repopulate the earth.
Oh god. Let's see here. Let's raid you into Rhizome. Rhizome's a good dude. I like him. And y'all have a good one. Remember to moisturize, drink a lot of water, get out there, maybe sweat a little bit. It'll be easier, I promise. See everybody.